Welcome to Seoul, South Korea for the first game of our doubleheader on day 2 here in Pool A. The building was hopping last night for the opener of the World Baseball Classic. We'll expect the same today here at Gochak Sky Dome. Team Israel plays their second game of the tournament while Chinese Taipei gets its first taste of action. Here's an updated look at the Pool A bracket. One game under our belts. Israel has a short turnaround from last night's extra inning victory against Korea. Meanwhile, the host country back at it later today against the Kingdom of the Netherlands. With that, we say hello again, everybody, and welcome inside our broadcast booth. Paul Severino alongside Major League veteran Joe McGrain. What a way to start things. Terrific atmosphere between Israel and Korea. The only problem with Israel is even though they get the extra inning win last night, they were on the field a little more than 12 hours ago.
Well, they certainly would, and you would think that they would be tired, but I think that actually works as a positive because of the momentum, and it was such an important win for them. And for Team Israel, the way that they were able to play last night, very fundamentally sound, as Scott Bertram driving in the go-ahead and the eventual winning run. That momentum is riding high again today.
And there had been some inkling that perhaps this was a bit of an upset, but from what we know, we think that Israel had as good a chance as any.
No, they are a much better team than a lot of people give them credit for because not only the fundamentals, but their ability to, of course, play defense.
Absolutely. They had a lot of missed opportunities on the offensive side of things, but the defense, Joe, as you said, stood up.
And it started with Super Sam Fold in the outfield. A lot of good double plays and chemistry in the middle, throwing out key runners. And in this type of format, it's very important to not give the opposition extra outs, and that had one of the big reasons why Israel won last night over Korea.
No question about it. Other side of this matchup, of course, is Chinese Taipei. Now, for their team, not as strong as it could be. There is a boycott of one of the teams in Taiwan. So to perhaps combat that a little bit and make sure that they walk away with a win here today, sounds like they're going to go with their two best pitchers, one right after the other.
Well, they are, and I think it's piggybacked on the idea about how important it is looking at Israel to win game one. They are going to go with their best pitchers. They're going to absolutely empty the bucket. They're not necessarily velocity guys, but they have tremendous control and very good secondary pitches. We can see how difficult it can be when you have to face these guys and then all of a sudden face another pitcher with a completely different delivery. On the offensive side, they're going with their big bopper, Lin. It is not a team that is particularly laden with power. They have to string at-bats together, but if they get to Lin with runners on base, this is a guy that can most definitely do some damage. They are putting their best foot forward in today's game against Israel.
The 2017 World Baseball Classic rolls on from Gochak Sky Dome. A quick break, and when we come back, lineups and first pitch in a moment. Welcome back to Seoul. Excited for day 2 here at Gochak Sky Dome. It'll be a long day, but it will certainly be fun. A doubleheader here on day 2 as Team Israel and Chinese Taipei about to get started in just a few moments. Later on today, the host country Korea takes on the Kingdom of the Netherlands, or should I say the Major League All-Star laden Kingdom of the Netherlands. That'll be a fun matchup later on tonight here in Seoul, but for now, it's Israel and Chinese Taipei. Let's take a look at Israel's starting lineup as put forth by their manager, Jerry Weinstein. Sam Fold is going to be leading things off, and really came as no surprise yesterday that his defense was spectacular. We knew that going in. He made a terrific play, and he will lead things off. Ty Kelly behind him. Ike Davis is the DH. Nate Fryman at first. Zach Bornstein, the right fielder. Ryan Lavarnway is the catcher. Blake Galen in left field. Tyler Krieger is at second base. And Scott Bertram, the hero of last night, really on both sides of the ball with the glove. And he drove in the go-ahead and eventual game-winning run in the 10th inning. So that's a look at Israel's lineup. They will face Chen Lin for Chinese Taipei.
Well, you can see he's a diminutive pitcher, and he has that kind of Masahiro Tanaka pause at the top that a lot of Eastern pitchers have to try to upset the timing of the hitter at the plate, and that is the name of the game, upsetting the timing. And as we look at the breakdown and the scouting reports of this young but very experienced and talented pitcher, highly poised, and that's exactly what you need in these adrenaline-laden tournaments, knowing that you're not out there to try to be able to work through jams. You'll be out of the game before that. He is a workout horse, has the ability to go deep into the game, but he's going to empty the bucket on his pitches. He is their ace.
And a little bit more balance, as you see there, Sam Fuld leading things off for Team Israel. A little bit more balance than what we saw in the qualifier back in Brooklyn. Now it's speed and power, and of course the defense traveling as well. So there is Sam Fuld. He saw the first pitch of the 2017 World Baseball Classic yesterday. He will see the first pitch of the game here today. Now, the crowd, admittedly not nearly as packed as it was yesterday, at least at the outset, but it will certainly grow as the day progresses. Let's take a look at the defense behind Kuo, going left to right in the outfield. Shang Lin and Gao. Zhang, Chen, Lin, and Lin. Third to first on the infield with Dahong Zhang behind home plate. So as Sam Fuld gets the go-ahead from the home plate umpire, Chikara Sagawa, we are just about set here for Game 2 here in Seoul, South Korea. Paul Severino, Joe McGrain with you. Thanks so much for joining us, wherever you may be watching the 2017 World Baseball Classic. Here is Sam Fuld, and here is the first pitch of the afternoon. And that one misses for ball one. Lowe is a 25-year-old, had pitched for the Cebu Lions in Nippon Professional Baseball each of the last 2 years. Pitched well at the 2015 Premier 12 tournament.
You know, and for a young guy, he is really not a slave to his mechanics. You know, that may be counterintuitive to what I'm talking about when you see a lot of the hitches and giddy-ups, but that is actually what is the normal as far as the Asian style of pitching. There's usually a gather or a stop and start within the delivery. And if you're a Yankee fan, you can just kind of see the Tanaka aspect in that type of delivery, both of them being right-handed. But for a very young pitcher, a lot of poise, and he's not one of those guys, as I said earlier, that's worried about what's going on the mound. He's worried about upsetting the timing at the moment of truth, impact in the hitting zone.
Be a 3-0 to Sam Fuld, and he looks at a called strike one. Fuld yesterday 2 for 6 at the plate. Got his hits later in the ball game, in the 7th and in the 9th, in that 10-inning win against the host country Team Korea.
And I liked every one of the at-bats that he had.
Hey, he squared up a couple of balls and finally was able to get the benefit of a couple of knocks on his ledger last night. So happy with that, to get a couple of hits under his belt here in Seoul.
Yeah, we were talking about the timing and pitching timing, the hitting timing. He was right on time at the plate in every one of his at-bats.
The 3-2 to Fuld. This one is chopped foul to stay alive.
When you're a pitcher and you're reading swings, and you know, even with that foul ball, you see hitters that, for lack of a better term, they just look very hitterish at the plate. They're locked in, they're comfortable in their timing, they're letting the ball travel and just throwing their hands in very quick with them. That was the kind of night that Fuld had just a few short hours ago.
And sends this one through the hole on the right side for a base hit, his third of the tournament, and he is aboard to kick things off for Jerry Weinstein's bunch. Weinstein managed Team Israel during the 2017 qualifier back in September of 2016. They, of course, in the modified double elimination format, kind of needed to go undefeated after winning the first 2 games. He's going to serve as the manager of the Hartford Yard Goats, the AA affiliate of the Colorado Rockies, in 2017.
And he has a lot of wisdom on his coaching staff, which is code for saying they're all old.
You get along with them, you could say that. Ty Kelly scorches one to right field, and that one's over the head of Gao. Sam Fuld on his way to third, and he will hang up right there. And Israel in business here in the first inning.
Paul, this is right what we were talking about right off the top about They finished the game just a few hours ago, less than 12 hours. They're back on the field and still riding that wave of momentum, just ambushing Kuo here in the top of the first. Very well-timed, measured swings. Fold continuing what he was doing last night. A great pass, hitting that ball with authority, and a chance to score early before Kuo even has a chance to settle in. And here comes the pop.
And Ty Kelly went 0 for 4 with a walk last night. He gets his first hit of the tournament, and so far it's a big one. So Fold on at third, Ty Kelly on at second for Ike Davis, who came in off the bench last night and had a pinch hit double. But a run scoring opportunity here for Team Israel against Kuo, who deals, and Davis will drive in a run with a base hit. Fold will score easily. Here comes Kelly behind him, and just like that, Team Israel has a 2-0 lead.
What we were talking about, what a lot of teams would think because of having to get right back to the ballpark that they're tired, they're listless. No, they're picking up right where they left off. A swing just like Ike Davis had in his double last night, down towards the right field corner, kind of coming out and around to get that pitch on the outer half of the plate. 3 at-bats, 3 dandy at-bats. And Team Israel saying, I like Ike.
And we had mentioned it in the open, Joe, about the missed opportunities. We kind of glossed over it, but they were 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position and left 14 men on base. And there were 3 instances last night in the 2nd, the 7th, and the 8th in which they left the bases loaded. So I understand we're 9 pitches into this game, but that's certainly a good sign given the missed opportunities that they had last night. So Ike Davis leads off a first for Nate Fryman, the cleanup hitter and first baseman this afternoon, and he takes outside for ball 1. Fryman last night 0 for 4, but scored a run for Team Israel.
I'm not saying that this is part of it with Kuo, but with this early start at noon and starting pitchers have to be very rhythm oriented and kind of counterintuitive to your senses. You just have to get up a lot earlier and just get yourself moving and get into that routine. Obviously, playing a lot of night games, that's not really a factor.
Well, speaking of getting up early, the bullpen is already working as number 47, the one who is closest to us, Kwan Yu Chen, is throwing already. That's the pitcher that we figure will be coming in second, as we learned that Chinese Taipei was going to go with their 2 best pitchers, one right after another, as opposed to spreading them out over multiple games to start. So they want to get a win as best they can, but before they even get to the bat rack, they'll find themselves in at least a 2-0 hole.
You're right. With the pitch count and with the way that this tournament is laid out, you can't afford to wait around and settle in like a starter. This is a major league game. You'd see a manager that wouldn't get all that concerned about giving up 2 runs in the first inning, but already double barrel action. You cannot wait till tomorrow, and Israel already knowing how important that first win to start the tournament off is to them.
2-2 pitch will be forthcoming after a check on Ike Davis. Got a good look there at Taewon Kuo, who managed Chinese Taipei during the aforementioned Premier 12 tournament in 2015. Considered one of the greatest foreign players in Nippon professional baseball history. Pleasure to talk with him the other day in advance of this tournament. Was a little bit under the weather. We hope that he's feeling a little bit better, although right now probably not feeling great as his starting pitcher is yet to really settle in. This will be the 15th pitch of the first inning. 2 runs in and still nobody out. Fryman swings and will test the gap in left center field. It kind of swung back around towards center field. So Ike Davis moves up just the 90 feet, but more threats here for Israel here in the first.
And kind of a bad break for Quo. You'll see that Fryman gets this way off the end of the bat, so much so that it actually was in left center field and tailed. You see it kind of just fish hooking over in center field because of that side spin that it put on it. I guarantee you that ball is cut and thrown out of field of play, but even a good pitch by Quo is turning into a hit.
Well, I guess you were right. Israel's got the bats going. I'm sure just like us, they slept quick and were back at the yard early as Zach Borenstein digs in. Bornstein last night 1 for 4 with a walk. 2 on, still nobody out. He takes a called strike.
Yeah, just another layer of the quick turnaround, everything with the statistical things that need to be quantifiable. And when you're tired and you're right back at the yard after an extra inning game, a very long game, sometimes based on that fatigue, you just simplify your approach to everything back to just see ball, hit ball, and just react. And so far, that's what Israel has done.
Borenstein fouls that one away. And that's the thing. For Team Israel, it's great for them to get the win, so that's good. There's still an awful lot of baseball to be played here this afternoon, but for the lack of rest that they will, I guess, battle through today, they will have tomorrow off. So that will certainly play into them getting caught up on some much-needed sleep, I'm sure, but also the bullpen and the bullpen usage, which we can get into as the game unfolds. But right now, 0-2 to Borenstein, with Ike Davis on at second and Nate Fryman on at first. Bornstein, a 26-year-old out of Illinois, a 23rd round pick of the Angels in 2011. Was named the California League MVP in 2013.
Real good bat speed. He's got some thunder.
And you could say that about a lot of guys in Team Israel's lineup, both today and just on the roster in general.
That's why, back in the States, kind of the narrative was the Rocky Balboa shocks the world with regard to Israel and the upset. And I think it kind of was almost diminishing the talent that is really on this team. I think when you look at the aspect that they had not gone this far, it certainly was a very big win against the 3rd ranked in the world, Korea.
And a called strike 3. And that gets the fans a little bit more excited. That's out number 1.
Really the kind of out that Quo needed to try to just develop a little bit of momentum. Just a fastball could not have been painted any more perfectly down and away. He's looking for more of those in any situation, in any count.
But it won't get much easier here with Ryan Lavarnway, who certainly got some pop as well. You see his numbers at a couple of levels of the minor leagues last season in 91 games. 1 for 3 with a couple of walks last night. 2 on, 1 away, top first. Israel with a 2-0 lead. And that will find a hole on the left side. Ike Davis and Nate Fryman go station to station. So the base is loaded and 1 out. So we've seen this quite a bit with Team Israel operating with the bases loaded.
Quo was trying to get that breaking ball over, and it was just kind of rolling up there. And again, another hit off the end of the bat, and it kind of went through the infield with a line drive trajectory to where Ike Davis had to freeze at second base and make the ball go through. No way to score. And speaking of that, as far as base running, and Ike normally clogs up the bases, I thought one of the bigger plays last night was the slow and plodding Ike Davis going from first to third on a base hit to center field to set up that go-ahead run.
So that'll bring up Blake Galen, who last night was 1 for 4 with a walk. So that's 22 pitches in this first inning already, and not quite out of the woods yet for Kuo.
You know, he's not really feeling it right now, but if he can roll up a double play and get out of this inning with just the 2 runs, and it being very early, he can still feel pretty good about himself, because this has a chance to get really bad.
Tap foul at the dish. And again, something just to keep in mind as this tournament unfolds, and specifically right now this game itself and how Kuo is going. In round 1, you get 65 pitches. You can pass 65 if you need to finish off a batter, but perhaps it's the numbers beneath that that are more key, especially for these teams as you think about how this tournament is formatted. If you get to 50 pitches, 50 or more pitches, you need 4 days rest, which basically takes you out of pool play, because you need the 4 days off and there just aren't 4 days to play with. So we'll see if Kuo gets closer to 65 or perhaps gets a little bit closer to the 50 pitch mark. But that one misses way outside in the count, 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Well, the manager, Kuo, a former pitcher, had a mind of just going with his 2 best pitchers and really kind of emptying the bucket and hoping that they can be economical enough to get them very deep into the game with just those 2 pitchers, but spending a lot of pitches right now.
25th of the inning, bases loaded and 1 out, 2-0 Israel. The pitch to Galen, swung on and fouled back.
I mean, just, you know, think of it from the perspective of 25 pitches and only 1 out. 25 pitches to spend for 1/3 of an inning.
Sung and Chen both still warming up in the bullpen.
Yeah, so already the best laid plans for the manager, Kuo, is really starting to be in a flux.
And we have already seen the maestro, Jerry Weinstein, work that pitch limit to his benefit in game 1. A 1-2 to Galen. So another strikeout looking for out number 2.
Two big outs he has really needed with runners in scoring position have been strikeouts looking for the fastball down and away, and now a backdoor breaking ball perfectly located down and away. This is a big out to get Tyler Krieger to really kind of thinking that they have minimized what could be an incredible amount of damage.
So it's Tyler Krieger, the 23-year-old from California, who was 0 for 3 with a couple of walks and an RBI on a bases-loaded free pass last night, and he takes a called strike.
Painted.
Ike Davis on at third, Nate Fryman at second, and Ryan Lavarnway on at first. Once again, the 4th inning in this tournament. The 10 innings last night and the 1 so far here. The 4th inning, the Team Israel has had the bases loaded. The 0-1. Swung on and chopped into the dugout, 0-2. It was Ike Davis's 2 RBI single that got Israel on the board. Looked like they had the makings of a big inning, and if Chinese Taipei can get through this with just the 2 runs allowed and still all 9 of their at-bats in their back pocket, they'll be feeling pretty good, even though this is pitch number 29 of the 1st inning for Kuo. The 0-2. Ground ball, base hit up the middle for Krieger. Davis will score. Here comes Fryman behind him. It's cut off, and it's 4-0 Israel.
Boy, what a disappointment. Hard to believe after making all of those pitches and 1 pitch away from getting out of it. He's 0-2 and gets the fastball up with elevation that just tailing right in the middle of the plate. Oh my, know the feeling.
So a meeting on the mound as the pitching coach, Chen Hua Lin, comes out and in fact will make a pitching change. So the night ends with, or the afternoon I should say, ends with 29 pitches for Kuo. 4 runs in and 2 more his responsibility. A big first inning for Team Israel. We're back in a moment. Welcome back to Go Chuck Skydome here in Seoul, South Korea. Paul Severino, Joe McGrain with you. So Chinese Taipei, their plan was to go with their 2 best pitchers, one right after another, but their starting pitcher, Shang Lin, did not have his best stuff, so he's done after 2/3 of an inning, 4 runs in and 2 runners left on base. Huan Yu Chen, the 26-year-old who has represented Taiwan at junior, college, and senior levels of international competition, will come in and try to limit the damage here at just the 4 runs as the number 9 hitter, Scott Burcham, who drove in the eventual game-winning run last night in the 10th inning, will bat with 2 on and nobody out here in the first inning. Lavarnway at second and Krieger on at first. He fouls that one straight back. Let's take you back to last night. And it was a lengthy ball game for sure. Both teams trying to feel each other out for a little while. A lot of missed opportunities on both sides, but in the 10th inning, it was that infield single that gave Israel the 2-1 lead and eventually the 2-1 win in 10 innings over the host country, Korea, who again plays later on tonight against the Kingdom of the Netherlands. Burcham, a big swing and a miss, and it's 0-2.
Yeah, and just to finish the sentence on that, Paul, with the narrative being the huge upset of Israel over Korea, I can understand that, but not necessarily feeling that, because there were so many opportunities presented for Israel to win that game at any point, loading the bases numerous occasions, 9 walks.
Well, the good news is Chinese Taipei struck out the side. The bad news, they allowed 4 runs in the process. Sam Fold got it started. The first 4 batters in Israel's lineup come around to score. 4-0. Chinese Taipei coming around to hit next. Welcome back to Go Chuck Skydome here in Seoul, South Korea. Paul Severino, Joe McGrain with you. There's Tyler Krieger, big smile on his face, and for good reason. A 2-out knock in the top of the inning helped to extend a 4-run inning. Here's a look at the lineup for Chinese Taipei. We highlight the team captain, who has 241 career home runs in 13 seasons in Chinese professional baseball. And Shang Lin will be that cleanup hitter coming up in just a bit. But it's Chin Lung Hu, the DH, to lead things off, and he takes strike 1 from Corey Baker, who misses low for ball 1, 1-1. Baker, a 27-year-old from New City, New York, drafted by the Cardinals in the 49th round in 2011, induces this ground ball on a hop to third, 1 away.
Yeah, 2 palpable things in baseball. Momentum is real, and being able to control that as we look at the scouting report on Corey Baker. The 1-2 punch with Jason Marquis last night, being able to pound the sinker and use the defense. 2 guys who are going to have a very similar game plan. And just to finish the thought on that, the big stake to the heart in controlling that momentum is to get his team, Israel, right back into the dugout and putting the heat on the pitching staff of Chinese Taipei.
A good rhythm to that first batter. Now he misses low to Chi Hao Jiang, the left fielder, 29-year-old who hit .322 with 17 home runs and 70 RBIs in 70 games last season. In fact, set career highs in all 3 of those categories.
The most important part of controlling that momentum is having a shutdown inning. I'm sure Baker did not think that by the time he took the hill, he was going to have 4 runs to work with.
Saw this a little bit last night against Korea. Team Israel not afraid to utilize a defensive shift. And the way that they're setting it up is Ty Kelly's playing basically shortstop. Krieger, the second baseman's right behind the bag. And Scott Burcham was playing short right, but he doesn't need the defense on the strikeout of Jiang, but we'll take a look at it anyway. Left to right in the outfield is Galen, Fuld, and Borenstein. Around the horn on the infield is Kelly, Burcham, Krieger, and Fryman, with Brian Lavarnway behind home plate.
Now Baker's off to a good start with 2 quick, crisp outs, and a great pitcher's pitch to completely lock up Jang.
Chi-Shen Jiang steps in, the 29-year-old who signed with the Red Sox in 2005 as an infielder, but converted to the outfield after 2008. Terrific power numbers last season. It is now even in the count, a ball and a strike. Baker works quickly. The 2-1 is skied toward left center field. Galen waves off Fuld and puts it away. 3 up and 3 down for Chinese Taipei, as Team Israel has a 4-0 lead. The 2017 World Baseball Classic rolls on from Seoul, South Korea. First time that Korea has played host to pool play. The 4 teams involved, of course, Korea, Chinese Taipei, the Kingdom of the Netherlands gets their tournament going later on tonight, and of course Israel as well. Korea has had some very good success in the World Baseball Classic. Last night notwithstanding, 14-5 coming into this tournament. They'd lost in the semis, the finals, and a first-round exit. Now backs against the wall after the loss, but they play later. Right now it's Israel and Chinese Taipei, and for the 2nd inning in a row, Sam Fuld leading off, and that bat goes flying into the camera well down the first base line. And one thing that we noticed last night, as Fuld will get his bat back, is that there is netting going all the way down the lines, behind home plate and all the way toward the corners. And unfortunately, it looked like that was the only spot down the line that was not covered by a net.
Well, were there some guys that had a pretty bird's eye view of it with all the telephoto lenses? It was coming right at him as it was getting larger and larger through that lens.
And again, that netting can come into play on thrown balls and balls that bounce into the net. The balls are in play. Of course, a foul ball that goes into the net is a dead ball. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Sam Fuld, who singled to lead off the game. That was against Shang Lin, but his night only lasted 2/3 of an inning. And now Fuld skies one to deep right field. It sends Gao back a step or 2 in front of the track, and there's 1 away. Beautiful venue here in Seoul, South Korea, Gochak Sky Dome. It opened in 2015. It has a little bit of a, for you Major League Baseball fans out there, a little bit of a Tropicana Field type feel, but also a little bit of the Metrodome as well. 325 down both lines and 400 to straightaway center field.
Yeah, the Tropicana Field component involves the catwalks and some of the ground rules within the fact of any scenario. As you see the yellow line going over one of the top beams up there, the ball hits beyond that yellow line, it is deemed a home run.
Chopper coming in and getting it over to first in time is Chen to retire Ty Kelly. 2 outs.
Well, the other thing Chinese Taipei talked about getting used to this beautiful facility. It is during the day also a little more difficult to track the ball out of the roof with the light in the ceiling. And Paul, you can take care of the stuff.
Sure, thanks.
Because I can't read.
The ball hits the roof in fair territory. It's in play. Foul territory, it's not. I think that's probably the best way to summarize that, perhaps. Here's Ike Davis, who singled and scored 2 runs. Singled 2, scored 2 runs in the first. He also came around to score, part of that 4-run first. And now the 1-0. It's the outside corner, 1-1. For Ike Davis, 29 years old, born in Minnesota, grew up in Scottsdale. '18th overall pick of the Mets in 2008 out of Arizona State. Finds himself down a ball and 2 strikes.
Boy, and he was used sparingly in the WBC qualifier, and he's already made his presence felt.
That's the 4th time Team Israel has struck out. They go 3 up and 3 down here in the second. Welcome back. Paul Severino, Joe McGrain with you. To the bottom of the second inning we go. Team Israel with a 4-0 lead. To give you a little background on the World Baseball Classic, how do you advance in the 2017 tournament? Well, the first and second rounds are round robin, so 2 teams will advance from the 4 pools in play. We talked a little bit about the pitch limits, something else to perhaps keep in mind as this and other games roll along. If you're up or down by 15 after 5, there's an early termination. Up or down 10 after 7, and there's an early termination. But we're a long ways away from that. Glad you're with us here. A 4-0 lead for Team Israel. 4, 5, and 6 due up for Chinese Taipei as Shang Lin takes a called strike. 1-1.
And I think for Israel to have Corey Baker on the hill, it really is the right type of guy. He is a strike thrower. He's not going to really overborrow on the corners because he relies on the sinker, and anyone who knows that they have a good sinker, they try to start it more in the middle of the plate and know and trust that it's not going to end up there. Like Jason Marquis, like Corey Baker, those type of pitchers produce a lot of ground balls, and we said right in the beginning of the show tonight that the defense has been stellar for Israel.
Lin swings, sends one the other way to deep right field, but the ballpark will hold this one as Borenstein puts that one away for out number 1. Mentioned it earlier that Jerry Weinstein has been something of a maestro with the pitch limitations and whatnot. Certainly was in the qualifier to maximize Jason Marquis for 2 starts. Certainly hoping to do the same thing last night as he kept him well below that 50 pitch limit. And again, that's more of the big picture thing. If you've got 50 or more pitches, you need 4 days rest, and with only a 4-day pool play, it kind of takes you out of the running. So there's the 65 for the game, but 50 basically for pool play.
Yeah, and just to expound upon that, most managers will be asked, well, who's your go-to guy? Who's your closer? Who is your ace? And Jerry Weinstein actually embraces this type of format because he knows he's going to use a lot of guys.
Floated to fold in center field for out number 2.
And by using a lot of guys and based on the pitching restrictions, where his genius and good managing comes in is to how and when and how judicious he is about how he uses them, because what he thinks is the most important thing, because he has to use his entire staff, is to vary the looks of each guy. So the guy that is replacing the guy who was already pitching looks completely different in delivery and release point.
Towards center field and in the glove of Tyler Krieger as Guo Gao is retired. Once again, 3 up and 3 down, 4-0 through 2. Welcome back to Seoul, Go Chok Sky Dome. Paul Severino, Joe McGrain with you. Again, the atmosphere has been great. It will continue to be, and even increasingly so as the night progresses with the host country Korea in action later on tonight. Game 2 of our day 2 doubleheader. Korea against the Kingdom of the Netherlands. Nate Fryman takes a called strike to lead things off here in the top of the 3rd inning. Fryman followed by Zach Borenstein and Ryan Lavarnway. 4, 5, and 6 due up for Team Israel, who scored 4 runs on 6 hits in the 1st inning and knocked out Kuo, Chinese Taipei's starter. That one is yanked foul. 0-2.
Yeah, very important for Team Israel to keep the hammer down and keep putting these at-bats together and trying to add on, because there's so much time left and how important momentum is.
Well, he's thrown 17 pitches, 14 for strikes, and that's his 3rd K. There's 1 away here in the 3rd.
Well, last night there were a lot of walks for Team Israel, a lot of pitches outside the strike zone, but when the Chinese Taipei pitchers have hit their spots, they have really hit their spots.
And Chen has come in and really settled things down. I mean, Israel had their first 4 batters reach on base hits. It was those first 4 that came around to score.
Now, that's why I was talking about the importance is to keep tacking on and to keep maintaining that momentum. And a good pitcher that is hitting his spots can put the air brakes on that immediately.
Zach Bornstein shoots this one foul. Borenstein was part of this roster in Brooklyn, went 4 for 13 with a triple and 3 runs scored, helping to bring Team Israel to its first WBC.
And the way that they played and positioned themselves, they were completely laid out perfectly for the qualifier in game. And if they can win this game today, it would be a very similar set of circumstances, Paul, with an off day and a chance to recuperate the pitching staff and kind of be right back where they started as far as that goes, about laying everything out perfectly. Corey Baker doing everything he needs to do at this point.
Yeah, he's been extremely efficient. Just 21 pitches to this point. No swing for Borenstein, so he'll draw the free pass. And there's 1 on and 1 out for Team Israel here in the 3rd. First walk of the night sets up an opportunity for Ryan Lavarnway, who singled and was stranded back in the 1st. And Team Israel was the beneficiary of some 9 walks last night. This is sent high and deep toward left center field, and it is gone. A 2-run homer for Ryan Lavarnway makes it 6-0.
Talk about ambushing that first one. Pitcher likes to get ahead and then kind of divide the plate into halves or into thirds, trying to get strike 1. And the big boy wouldn't let him do it. Look at that. No stride, just bringing the bat through the hitting zone, and the power of those legs and hips, using the ground up. He's going to be rubbing up a new one.
A 6-0 lead for Israel as Blake Galen takes a called strike. Well, we've been talking a lot about it, but the balance of Team Israel, but there is the power that they certainly had in the qualifier and the way that roster was made up. They were able to add a little bit more speed and flexibility for the roster that came to Seoul, but that power never really left. It was just the complement of speed around that power, and Lavarnway certainly at the center of it with the first home run in this tournament.
Yeah, you're right. I'll continue to kind of describe that the same thing, is that really it was a just big right-handed, slow, plodding, powerful lineup. And now when you get a little bit more athletic with Ty Kelly, with Sam Fold, the guy at the plate right now, you add defense, you add speed, another dimension. So this is a much more balanced team, a better team.
Worm burner to short, and Galen is retired.
You saw how that ball stayed down, and we talked about it a lot last night. All 4 of these teams have remarked about the surface, about it's the fastest surface that they have ever played on, and that snack looking a little slightly less than delectable. We'll have to find out what that is.
My guess is seaweed. Have you had it before?
No, I've been caught in it.
Yeah, it's very healthy.
That one I got to write down.
Well, you've got time. This is Krieger with a base hit up the middle. That's his 2nd hit of the afternoon. It's very, I mean, it's an acquired taste. That guy seems to be enjoying it. Back stateside, it's a little more cotton candy perhaps, but this guy's crushing the seaweed. Give him credit.
Yeah, the seaweed I've seen, it doesn't come in squares.
I mean,
Really put you in a box on that one, huh?
Oh boy, Krieger off of first as that one's tapped foul. Scott Burcham struck out to end things in the first inning, was the 9th and final batter of that 4-run first. Again, 4 runs on 6 hits. The starting pitcher, Quo, lasting 2/3. All of that was on his ledger. 6 hits, 4 runs, but he did have a couple of strikeouts. And now, thanks to the Lavarnway 2-run home run, it's a 6-0 cushion for Team Israel as Burcham swings and misses 0-2.
Yeah, Paul, the number 9 hitter in the lineup isn't just the last guy on the playground that gets picked. Scott Burcham really was everywhere in the game last night. Played a beautiful defensive game. Got the hit to drive in the winning and go-ahead run. Star of the game.
Krieger off first. The pitch swung on and missed. And Burcham is retired. But 2 more runs come across thanks to Ryan Lavarnway, who goes high and deep to left center field for the home run. It's a 6-0 lead for Team Israel. Welcome back to Seoul. Paul Severino, Joe McGrain with you. Good look there at Ryan Lavarnway, whose 2-run home run has helped stretch it to a 6-0 advantage for Team Israel against Chinese Taipei, who is still looking for its first base runner against Corey Baker, who misses outside to the number 7 hitter, Youngji Chen, the shortstop. 7, 8, 9 due up. Da Hung Jang and Chen Hua Lin to follow. You know, we were talking last time Baker was on the mound about Israel and how they're managing their pitching staff, how they did so in Brooklyn, and even how they did so last night, perhaps with Marquis for sure by design, and with Josh Zeid maybe a little bit by luck, because we keep talking about the magic 50 number with the day's rest that you need on the backside of that. Zeid got the last out of the game, his 3rd inning of work, as this one toward the right center field gap. Sam Fuld may have overrun it by a step, but able to recover for out number 1.
Well, for all of the great catches that Sam Fuld has made, you wouldn't think that this one would be. Look at the flight of the ball. Follow the ball. Look where Fuld thinks it's going to be. And sometimes a lot of people think that's coming off maple bats where it causes the ball to knuckle and go back in the other direction. He's like befuddled. You see the flight of that ball? That was an outstanding catch because he was running to his left and the ball in the last 30 to 40 feet just completely took a left turn like a wiffle ball, and Fuld was able to stay with it and make just a tremendous recovery. Some of those Sam Fuld catches are better than others, but that was a really good one.
Swing and a miss by the catcher, Da Hung Jang. He was a 35-year-old on the WBC roster in 2013, but did not play in the tournament. You see his numbers in CPBL. In the air towards center field. Fuld back a couple of steps for out number 2. So coming up later tonight, we mentioned Team Korea backs against the wall already after the extra inning defeat at the hands of Team Israel last night, and the Kingdom of the Netherlands, perhaps the most stacked team here in terms of major league names and talent. We'll get our first look at them. I want to finish the thought on Josh Zeid. Again, perhaps it was more by design with Marquis than it was with Zeid, but in his 3rd inning of work, he gets the last out of the game on pitch number 49. So not available today, but with the day off tomorrow, he'll end up getting a couple days rest to come back if Team Israel needs him. Chen Hua Lin takes a called strike, 1-1.
That's what I was talking about, the momentum, the big win last night and how it flows into today, and the break of Zeid just throwing 49 pitches with the day off, being able to toe the slab the day thereafter.
They'll test Burcham. Long throw.
My, oh
dug
my.
out. Got him. Oh, man. Scott Burcham brought the glove to Seoul. Terrific defense behind Corey Baker. Man, oh man, Scott Burcham goes deep to get it and get the out. 6-0. Yeah, all smiles in Team Israel's dugout as they have a 6-0 lead. Still haven't allowed a base runner, thanks in large part to Scott Burcham's terrific defensive play to the backhand and a nice dig over at first base by Nate Fryman as Sam Fuld takes a look at the breaking ball for strike one.
Well, if we tell you the story as to how Scott Burcham became a player on this team, you wouldn't believe it. As their scouts were scouring pro ball looking for a shortstop of Jewish heritage, they happened upon his mother's Facebook page, and that was how they were able to get in touch with him. And he's been the star of the tournament for Team Israel so far.
Put a like on that.
Absolutely.
It's all worked out very well for Scott Burcham and Team Israel to this point. An extra inning win last night against the host country Korea. And now a 6-0 cushion here in the top of the fourth inning. Kwan Yu Chen still out there. He came on to get the last out of the first inning, and he has looked pretty good since. That is his 5th strikeout. One away here in the fourth inning. Take a look here at a little bit of background for Team Israel. A little more than 8 million people in a country and land that was established in 1948. Not big by any stretch of the imagination. That 1% landmass, I'm sure Sam Fuld could cover the whole darn thing. Wouldn't be surprised at all as there is a strike to Ty Kelly. But yes, the first trip to the WBC for Team Israel. Ty Kelly doubled and came around to score in the first and grounded out in the second. And that's through the hole on the right side for the second hit of the night for Ty Kelly. Once again, Israel has a runner aboard. So mention the fact that Israel was, in 1948 is when it all began. And they had their first baseball field built, though, in 1979. And it's been a long and winding road to get to this point in the WBC. Obviously, they went 3-0 in the qualifier in September, as I mentioned. But you go back 4 years before that, and they were 2-0 in the modified double elimination format. Back in the 2012 qualifier, they lost the final. So even though they had just as many losses as Spain, in losing the final, they lost out on their chance to go to the WBC. So this time around, they knew, even though they were 2-0 going into the final against Great Britain, they needed to finish the business this time around, and they certainly did to get here to Seoul. And they have impressed since coming to town as Ike Davis swings and misses. And some of the players who were on that qualifying team back in 2012 were motivated to get over the hump in Brooklyn in September and really proved to the world that that they're a force to be reckoned with. And through a game and a half, I guess you could call it, they certainly look like it, up 6-0.
Well, you could tell just the unbridled joy that they had as a group, as a team, when they played themselves into the WBC and the qualifier in Brooklyn. It was a bunch of guys that, just as a collective, were just so giddy and happy after coming out of that qualifier and qualifying for the WBC itself. A very close-knit group, a very positive bunch, and really knowing what this means to them and playing for their country, their roots, their background, their family history.
Ike Davis takes outside, and the count now 2 balls and a strike.
And I was talking with Ike Davis after that, and he said this is just something so incredible and completely different than he's experienced in his entire baseball career.
Check on Kelly over there at first. Now for Ike Davis, he was named the 2009 Mets Organizational Player of the Year, earned a big league promotion the following season. Kind of bounced around some organizations since, but one of those guys on this club, along with Jason Marquis on the pitching side, who has a lot of major league experience to lean on. And that's kind of what this Israel team is relying on here in Seoul, is that veteran leadership, that big game experience, and it served them well to this point. Davis shoots one to left, and it will get down for a base hit. His second hit of the afternoon and third of the tournament. Let's take you back to Brooklyn in September. This was in the qualifier, and this was the last out, knowing right there that they better get their bags packed and figure out how to beat jet lag, because they were going to get on a bird and head towards Seoul. They are here. They've got a 6-0 lead, and they are threatening for more here in the fourth. A pitching change for Chinese Taipei. We're back in a moment. Welcome back to Seoul. A 6-0 lead for Team Israel here in the top of the fourth inning. Third pitcher of the afternoon for Chinese Taipei, as Ming Chin Sai takes over, a 32-year-old who's moved from reliever to starter the past couple of seasons. Second round pick of the Bulls in the 2006 CPBL draft. Missed all the 2012 season with Tommy John surgery, and he will try to keep this at a 6-0 deficit for Chinese Taipei.
Well, it has to be kind of deflating for Chinese Taipei, for Hua Chen. They could use him right now, because their two best pitchers, in the plan of this ball game was to try to get a lot of length into the game, and we're in the top of the fourth, and these guys are already out.
The starter Kuo went 2/3 of an inning in the first, gave up 6 hits and 4 runs, and Chen, who just left moments ago, went 2 2/3. But the runners on base are his responsibility, as Sai deals to Nate Fryman, and in there for a called strike. Fryman 1 for 2, singled and scored in the first, and struck out in the third. One of 5 strikeouts for Chen, in fact.
Yeah, they have had the strikeouts, but at the opportune times they have strung at bats together.
This one a high bounding ball. 1, 2. Big double play to eliminate further trouble here in the fourth. 6-0 through 4. Welcome back to Gochok Skydome here in Seoul, South Korea. Paul Severino and Joe McGrain with you. Thanks for taking the time to join us for the 2017 World Baseball Classic. Having a lot of fun here in Seoul, and so is Team Israel, up 6-0 after the win last night in extra innings. A quick turnaround for them. They're back at it in the afternoon game here today, and so far so good. 4 runs in the first, 2 more on a 2-run home run by Ryan Lavarnway in the third. They're up 6-0, and Corey Baker, their starter, has been in a rhythm. Still not allowed a hit to this point against Chinese Taipei, or even a base runner for that matter, as the top of the order due up as Chin Lung Hu taps this one up the first base line. Baker for out number 1. It happens only once every 4 years. The World Baseball Classic is finally here. Don't miss your chance to see the best players represent their country. Get your tickets now at worldbaseballclassic.com. So 10 up and 10 down for Corey Baker. He has been in a terrific rhythm, like I said. Get the ball and throw it. He's not straying too far from that rubber at all. He struck out Chi Hao Chang back in the first, and to this point his only strikeout, but a pitch to contact guy, and we've Certainly saw that with Jason Marquis as well, even though he wasn't necessarily on last night. That's certainly the game plan of a few different pitchers for Team Israel.
No, but I absolutely love the way Baker is going about it. You're right. And he is very decisive, and he knows his identity as a pitcher. He's not going to blow the ball by hitters. He's relying on getting that ball down, sinking it. Everybody's on their toes because they know they have a chance to have the ball hit to them. And he's not running deep counts. He's pitching the exact type of game that you need to do when you get that early lead. First pitch strikes, and really having Chinese Taipei offense completely on the run. Working ahead in the count. And one of the rare times after just getting a new ball, just taking a little recollection and a breather, thinking he got that pitch up. All right, let's get back down in the strike zone and finish the hitter off.
1-2 goes up and in on Chang to rush him back off the plate. 2 balls and 2 strikes. .42 pitches to this point for Corey Baker. With the pitch limits that we have discussed, something to keep in mind. Line right back to Baker, who's in and out of his glove, tries to track it down, and that's the first base runner for Chinese Taipei, reaching with 1 out here in the 4th.
Well, there goes the no-hitter, but with the count being full, rightly challenging the strike zone, getting back to it, making him hit. Gets that one right in the middle, and everybody went out there, but he got leather on that. And sometimes you see that and you think that was just very benign, but sometimes it can get the fingertips inside of the glove. And it is his left hand, so nothing to worry about. And longtime major league trainer Barry Weinberg coming out there to make sure that he gets a little TV time for his friends and family back home.
Korea and the Kingdom of the Netherlands will get some TV time later today. They've got our primetime game tonight. Korea 0-1 after losing to Team Israel in 10 innings last night. And the Kingdom of the Netherlands and all of their major league star power will get their first taste of WBC action here in 2017.
What's he doing? It's on its left hand. It might have caught him a little bit on the heel of the glove a little bit. But I wouldn't want to upset the great rhythm that he has. I got him just above on the inside of the wrist. Have some seam marks on the inside of that wrist to tell the story. I can't wait to get back out there and start winging it again.
And now he'll work from the stretch for the first time tonight. We'll see if that takes him out of any sort of rhythm. As Chi Shen Jiang steps in, he flew out to left back in the first inning. Swings and fouls it off the mask of Ryan Lavarnway, 0-1.
Paul, I was talking about how loving the way he was going about it, just pounding the strike zone. Ball has a natural sink to it, and mixing a couple pitches every now and again just to keep the hitter off balance.
Line just off the end of the glove. That was Krieger. They were playing the shift. It was off Krieger's glove and into center field for back-to-back base hits.
And just the concern that the last 2 hits have really been great swings, and they've been centered up, right up the middle. Yeah, and what's that telling Baker is that he just needs to add and subtract a little bit more to upset a little the timing, because the last 2 hitters have been very well timed.
So now 2 on and 1 out for the cleanup hitter, Shang Lin. 35-year-old team captain said he's going to retire from the national team after the WBC. He's played in 2 WBCs already. 5 for 26 combined in the 2006 and 2013 tournaments.
Look at those gaudy numbers.
Yeah, he's been a mainstay on Chinese Taipei teams for over a decade. Line caught. Double play. caught it well, but the defense up the middle for Israel gets the double play.
6-0 Israel, and the old cliche that a double play is the pitcher's best friend, and especially when it happens at the right time. Chinese Taipei threatening, a little something going, and nothing that throws a stake to the heart of that like a double play.
Did finally see some really good contact off the bats of Chinese Taipei in that half inning, but nothing to show for it, trailing by 6 as Zach Borenstein hugs the third base line, and this could be extra bases. Big turnaround first, throw in, not in time, a leadoff double for Borenstein here in the 5th.
You know, when you're not pole conscious, these are the type of things that can go your way. Those pitches that are fading on the outside part of the plate, you're taking a direct inside the baseball, releasing the bat through the middle of the field. That was a great pitcher's pitch, probably outside the strike zone, and Borenstein, with everything in front of him, turns that into a double. Beautiful hitting.
That'll bring up Ryan Lavarnway with a runner in scoring position. Lavarnway's had a good run so far. 3 for 5 with a couple of doubles so far in the tournament. Also had a big caught stealing yesterday on the defensive end, and of course the 2-run home run back in the 3rd. Big swing and a miss there, but Joe, he did not swing and miss earlier.
Just ambushing a first pitch would-be strike. He's knocking the fans in center field to their keister on that one. Hitting all of that.
So after the foul ball, that is, it's now 0-1 to Lavarnway, who's got a couple of knocks here today and the 2 RBIs. Borenstein off of second, and Lavarnway skies this one toward right center field. Gao is underneath it to make the catch, and the throw goes to third where Borenstein is headed. He tags up and gets an extra 90 feet, so a productive out for Ryan Lavarnway.
So keep the momentum. Situational hitting, a chance to tack on another run. And the way that they played last night and all of the missed opportunities have really changed the complexion today, because they haven't missed many when they've been presented.
1 for 9 with runners in scoring position last night and 14 men left on base. Not the same struggles today at all as Blake Galen digs in. Galen 0 for 2. He struck out back in the 1st. Takes upstairs for ball 1.
Yeah, to revisit that, Paul, it was back in the States viewed as a huge upset, based, of course, on the world rankings of Korea, 3rd in the world, versus Israel, not in the top 10, but the way that game laid out, and with the 9 walks that the Korean pitching staff gave Team Israel, they could have really blown them out a lot earlier in the game. It goes 10 innings, and they still were able to, I want to say, back into that win, but a win is a win, very important, especially the first game of this format. And very shortly thereafter, with a quick turnaround, all that momentum that they did not have last night, they have today.
Yeah, they left the bases loaded 3 times last night. But today working with a 6-0 lead here in the 5th.
So even a win last night that wasn't pretty has them feeling very good about themselves just a few short hours later.
Galen swings, pops this one up, sends Chen to the edge of the grass where he puts it away for out number 2. Mentioned it before, they won the qualifier, the first 2 games of the qualifier back in 2013, but with the modified double elimination format, in losing the final, they lost out on their chance to get to the WBC. They went 3-0 back in Brooklyn in September. And as Joe mentioned, not just outside the top 10, but outside the top 40 in world rankings. So, yes, it was a bit of an upset based on those numbers, but we, of course, get the benefit of the extra information, being able to chat with people who are around these clubs and getting to know them while we're here. Perhaps we're a little bit biased, Joe. But I don't think we personally were as surprised that Israel won the game.
No, definitely not. And with Jerry Weinstein, their manager, they have an excellent guy who really knows how to manipulate this format and a real method to how to lay out a pitching staff and manage the bullpen and give the hitters completely different looks. You know, that's what major league hitters talk about that is so difficult, is when you're facing so many different pitchers with different looks, it's hard for them to get comfortable. You may get a couple at bats against the same pitcher and develop a level of comfort, how his stuff breaks, but the next time up you're facing a different guy. You're always adjusting.
Tyler Krieger ahead of the count, 2 balls and 1 strike. He's singled twice in this ball game, had a 2 RBI single to cap a 4-run frame in the first. 23-year-old from California, drafted by the Indians in the 4th round of 2015's draft, and swings and misses to even up the count at 2-2.
He has some real good actions for a young player. Very good at second base, making the pivot. And that just fills in pretty much what your eye tells you. I was mentioning last night, kind of has this, you know, the body moves, reaction, and stance like Carlos Beltran. A thinner version of Carlos. Just kind of stands the same way, the fluidity of his swing. The way his hands work. 6'2", 170 pounds, looking to get a little bit stronger and will fill out a little bit more.
Payoff pitch coming, swings and fouls this one down the left field line. And we've seen a lot of him. Had a couple of nice plays on the defensive side, but he's also reached base in 4 of his 7 plate appearances so far. So he's been active on both sides of the ball for Team Israel.
Yeah, both he and Scott Burcham not only getting outstanding defense, but production in the 8 and 9 spots in Israel's order.
Chop to second. Krieger is retired. Israel holds on to a 6-0 lead as we head to the bottom of the 5th here in Seoul. Welcome back to Go Chuck Skydome here in Seoul, South Korea. Paul Severino, Joe McGrain with you. That right there is the unofficial mascot of Team Israel. That is the, quote, mensch on the bench. It's a big old stuffed animal. Cody Decker was the one who kind of figured it all out. I guess it was kind of sort of the nickname of the skipper, Jerry Weinstein, and then it turns out that it's also a toy for young Jewish kids.
Call me Meshuggah, Paul, but I actually thought the mensch on the bench was really Jerry Weinstein all along.
Yeah, it's been going around. It's gotten an awful lot of attention. The team is having fun with it, and it's certainly one of the ways that Cody Decker has been getting everybody together. And that's the thing. I mean, these are 2 completely different teams and countries in that sense, whereas Chinese Taipei spent, what, 78 days together in camp. Team Israel has kind of come from different areas to get together and get their workouts in. But Cody Decker has done a terrific job of being the emotional leader of the club. 3-2 pitch on the way to Shang Lin. And he swings and misses for out number 1. Second strikeout of the night for Corey Baker. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of World Baseball Classic Incorporated and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent. Well, what Corey Baker is doing this afternoon, as Guo Hei Gao takes ball 1, is he's giving the team length, and now as he has passed the 50 pitch mark, did so a few back, he is going to, you would think, get to that 65 pitch number. That's why you see R.C. Orlan warming up in the Israel bullpen. So Baker has done his job. Did not allow a hit until the 4th inning. when he had that comebacker in and out of his glove and then the base hit up the middle. But giving up the 2 hits, he's gotten the team into the 5th. He hopes to get them to the 6th and then hand it over to the bullpen.
Well, you're right. And right after the 2 hard hit balls, he came right back and got a double play to get out of that. And he's done exactly what he is needed to do on the hill based on what his offense has done. It's getting to be about that time, isn't it?
Yeah, breakfast was quick this morning after the late game last night. Get a few hours of shut-eye and right back at it. So yeah, I'm thinking in between games before Korea and the Netherlands get going, we'll grab a bite. There you see the pitch limitations in further detail. 65. Again, you can finish a batter if need be. That's really the only way to surpass the 65 pitch limit. This will be number 58. And a 2-2 coming to Gal. Swing and a miss, strike 3. So after just 1 strikeout through the first 4, back-to-back strikeouts here in the 5th.
Wow, that's outstanding. That gets him to Chen coming up and a chance to close out this inning and close out an outstanding start. And I was talking about just how he has manipulated this lineup with Israel scoring runs early and just continuing to maintain that momentum. A lot of first pitch strikes, a lot of quick innings.
Ground ball, base hit up the middle. For Youngji Chen, the shortstop, is aboard with 2 outs here in the 5th. And now Jerry Weinstein comes out. And we saw him come out last night and just have a meeting on the mound. I haven't seen him motion just yet. But with some 6 pitches left, he will in fact ask for the ball, and Team Israel goes to the bullpen. Nice outing for Baker. 6-0 here in the 5th. Good
6-0 Israel, as you look at Corey Baker doing everything that he needed to do to really maintain that momentum that Team Israel has had coming off last night's win. They put some points on the board early, and he had outstanding command of his sinker using all of his pitches. A lot of easy outs. Nice string of hitless innings, changing speeds, and it's a great feeling for the performance that he did today.
His day is done after 4 2/3 as R.C. Orland comes in and delivers a first pitch strike. 26-year-old from Virginia, taken in the 44th round of the 2009 draft by the Dodgers, did not sign. Pitched at North Carolina for 3 seasons and then was taken by the Nats in the 30th round in 2012. A swing and a miss by the catcher Da Hung Jen.
Kind of an emergency swing there. Ball was almost in the catcher's mitt. He did not track that one very well.
Chang flew out to center field back in the 3rd inning. This is his 2nd trip to the dish. Runner on, 1 out. But check that, runner on, 2 outs here in the 5th. That one in the dirt, smothered by Lavarnway.
Yeah, and to finish the thought on Baker with the pitching constraints, the pitch limits, he did a beautiful job working within that, right up to the end of the 65 pitch mark, almost through 5 innings, and holding Chinese Taipei scoreless.
And another thing to keep in mind is with the lead and with the length given to them by Baker, Jerry Weinstein probably gets the benefit, at least as it stands right now, to stay away from those big arms, and with the day off tomorrow, give them even more rest while also giving some of the younger players a little bit more WBC experience. So a win-win all around.
Chinese Taipei manager Kuo likes his team power, but the way that Baker has pitched, he has definitely stayed away from the nitro zones of these hitters.
There is Tae-Wan Kuo. Managed Chinese Taipei during the Premier 12 in 2015. Now this one is chopped, fair ball, then throw to first is in time. Well, that was just kind of floating there for a second. I think everybody was waiting for it to make a left turn. It did not. And Zhang is retired. Nice job staying with it by Ty Kelly. Just waiting. Makes the play. 6-0. Welcome back to Go Chuck Sky Dome here in Seoul, South Korea. Paul Severino, Joe McGrain with you. We've got one eye on lunch and one eye on a 6-0 Israel lead as we head to the top of the 6th inning. 4 runs across in the first to really help set the tone for Team Israel after the short turnaround last night and the extra inning victory over the host country Korea. 2 more runs in the third thanks to a Ryan Lavarnway 2-run home run. Scott Burcham fouls that one back. I think we've already lost Joe. He's going to the concession stand.
Yeah,
Going to grab
sweet and sour
something.
chicken.
Could be.
Loving that.
Stay with me, big boy. Scott Burcham, 9-1-2 for Team Israel. Sam Fold and Ty Kelly to follow here in the 6th. Burcham, a 23-year-old out of California, 25th round pick of the Rockies in 2015. Went 5 for 11 with a double and 3 runs scored in the qualifier in Brooklyn. Has put forth some terrific defensive efforts so far here in Seoul. And knocked in the go-ahead and eventual game winner last night in the 10th against Korea.
Yeah, these players aren't going to play on a faster track unless it's in the parking lot. And the one thing about Burcham is he has fast and quick feet. He definitely has infielder's feet, and it's really shown up in the limited time that we've seen him last night and this afternoon.
Hard hit ball to short. It gets on Chen quickly, but he'll be able to make the play for out number 1.
Yeah, you see a lot of these fielders that have sure hands, the ball gets to them and it gets to them very quickly, but you see that the last bit when they try to reel it in, they're very surprised by not only the speed but the hop and sometimes the skidding hops that they get. A routine ground ball right at him, but it was hit so hard, and the dynamic of the faster track and how the ball skids, there is a huge adjustment, and it's not just confined to these 2 teams. Every player has talked about how fast the track is, infield and outfield.
The 0-1 to Sam Fold, swung on and fouled back into the seats. Now for Sam Fold, the 35-year-old out of New Hampshire, missed all of last season after a shoulder injury. And some think that the WBC could serve as an audition for Fold to perhaps find a club in 2017. The 0-2. Floated out toward left. Coming in is Chang. He is there to make the catch. 2 away.
Fold still garnering arm strength in that left arm of his. But as we've seen today and last night, it hasn't affected his glove, which is still as wide, deep, and open as Texas.
It's amazing the atmosphere here gets so loud because all we keep seeing is people eating. Who's making the noise? That's what I want to know.
They're smacking their lips.
Ah, that could be it. Ty Kelly takes a called strike. Kelly 2 for 3 tonight, doubled and scored in the first and singled, but was stranded in the 4th. Ty Kelly, a 28-year-old from Dallas, Texas, a 13th round pick of the Orioles in 2009. He's also played for the Cardinals, Blue Jays, and now with the New York Mets organizations. And shoots this one foul into the seats. 1-2. For Ty Kelly, he's playing third base here, but in a more major league or major league organizational sense, he's kind of a man without a position. But he started the game third last night and third here today. Jerry Weinstein trying to get him over there at the hot corner.
Yeah, along with Burcham and Kelly and Sam Fold. The balance and athleticism to kind of go with that right-handed power that they have. This club, needed to be more athletic as they advanced to the World Baseball Classic, and they have made those adjustments, and really it has shown up already.
And Ty Kelly was manning third on the last out of the previous half inning when it was just that bounding ball down the third base line. He stuck with it and was able to get the out. Now lines this one foul. And when Jang topped it to third, I think Kelly was maybe the only one who thought that one might stay fair, because I don't think Jang ran out of the box. So a good heads-up play on the defensive side for Ty Kelly, who was even at the count. 2 balls and 2 strikes with 2 outs here in the 6th. Sai, the third pitcher of the night for Chinese Taipei, and a 32-year-old who missed the 2012 season after Tommy John surgery, pitched in 21 games in 2016, made 11 starts, but had a 7.30 ERA. Rolls over on 1 to second, and Kelly is retired. We're through 5.5. Chinese Taipei trailing 6-0. The cuisine continues here in Seoul, South Korea at Gochuk Skydome. Paul Severino and Joe McGrain with you. A 6-0 lead for Team Israel. I tell you, I am not going to finish this game if we keep showing these shots of people eating. I will be gone. Get me on a cell phone. I'll broadcast from the third baseline or something. My goodness.
That is a generous helping that they're doling out at the concession stand right there.
The barbecue here is terrific. We indulged in some the other night. Hopefully more in between games. Still have another one coming your way as Korea and the Kingdom of the Netherlands get going at 6:30 local time. It'll be 9-1-2 for Chinese Taipei here in the 6th. Plenty of work to do, trailing by half a dozen here in the bottom of the 6th. Chen Hua Lin, the center fielder. We'll see a 1-1 from R.C. Orlin, who misses upstairs. And Orlin, on in relief of Corey Baker, went 4 2/3, gave up 3 hits, no runs, didn't walk anybody, and struck out 3.
Just want to keep that same approach that Corey Baker had, just very crisp, get it and throw it, pound the strike zone, let your defense do the work. Finish this game off. Don't let Chinese Taipei get any type of offensive momentum back in it. I can't read music, Paul, but what are they playing there?
I'll get back to you on that, big fella. Two balls and 2 strikes, that one in the dirt. Lin's a 28-year-old who, as you saw, was the MVP of the All-Star Futures game in 2008 at Yankee Stadium. Signed out of high school by the Red Sox in 2007. Played 9 games with him in 2012. On the ground toward Kelly on the backhand. 1 away.
Well, just another illustration of the defense of Israel. It's been real steady Eddie. Kelly going to his right, a little crossover backhand move. Kind of a challenging play that he really made look professional.
Back around to the top of the order here for Chinese Taipei as the DH Chin Lung Hu digs in 0 for 2 tonight. And that one will find a hole on the right side for a base hit. 4th of the afternoon for Chinese Taipei. And it's a 1-out knockoff of Orlin here in the 6th. And now the left fielder, Chi-Hao Chang, who singled in his last plate appearance back in the 4th inning, will try to get something going here for Chinese Taipei. They have had a rough go. Didn't get their first hit until the 4th. In fact, it was Zhang's hit that broke up the no-hit bid and the perfect game bid as well at that point. I know it was still early at the time, but it was their first base runner. It's a hard hit ball right back up the middle. Corey Baker got a glove or a wrist on it. Knocked it down, but Chang beat it out for an infield base hit. Squares to bunt and fouls it away. Now that's a part of their game. I think if you're watching a major league game, right, you see 6-0 in the 6th, you're running out of outs, you're thinking, why are they laying down bunts? But there's a shift on, and also it's just part of their game to get base runners on any way you can.
Well, you're trying to create something maybe where one swing could cut it in half. You got the shift, and Kelly has to respect that by moving a little closer. About a step from the grass.
Right back up the middle. And off the glove of Krieger and into center field. So now 1st and 3rd.
Well, that's unfortunate, and you see it a lot when a pitcher has to throw to a base from the mound. Just a made-to-order 1-6-3 double play, and he doesn't get through it, doesn't come through it, he just gooses it. And Krieger really can't make the play he wants to make on it because it's into the baseline, trying to stay with the bag. First real miscue defensively that we've seen out of Israel in these 2 games.
And for right now, it's being ruled an E4 on Krieger. I think it was just
got to go with E1.
It looked like the ball just kind of tailed a little bit.
It just kind of kept cutting because he goosed it. He didn't really, just put a little on it.
So the first real scoring opportunity for Chinese Taipei comes here in the bottom of the 6th as Chi-Shen Zhang, the 3rd baseman, digs in with runners on the corners, and he looks at a breaking ball for strike 1.
That was just a perfect made-to-order double play.
Single in the 4th and a fly out in the 1st. And they've been into it for most of the night, but this is the most active that the Chinese Taipei fan base has gotten throughout the evening. Good seats, but a bit of an obstructed view right now, I would imagine. But either way, they're excited. And a 1-1. Upstairs, 2-1.
Not really that close. Jean kind of leaning into the pitch a little.
On the way to Zhang. Inside, 3 balls and a strike. And now the power hitting Lin waits on deck. And this game could turn in a big way in a hurry.
And an illustration with the big bopper on deck, what given an extra out could do to really change not only the complexion of the inning, but the game, Paul.
Who on at 3rd? Zhang, the runner at 1st. And that one misses low, and now Chinese Taipei has the bases loaded and 1 out.
Might be time for a Andrew Lorraine conference. Just kind of change the tempo here a little bit. Or something a little more authoritarian in the manager.
That's the first walk issued by Team Israel here in this ball game. Last night to Korea, they issued 4 free passes. Another pitching change here in Seoul. We're back. Big moment coming up. Big spot here in Seoul with the bases loaded and 1 out, and the big bopper stepped into the dish. Shang Lin, the second baseman. Just take a look at some of his career notes. This guy is also the team captain, said he's going to retire from the national team after the WBC. Does he have one more big moment in him? Chinese Taipei certainly needs something. They have had a tough time getting the offense going. Didn't get their first hit until the 4th. Now they got the bases loaded here with Tyler Heron on the mound, and he delivers upstairs to Lin. As we look at the numbers here for Tyler Heron, he's a 30-year-old from Florida, first-round pick, 46th overall by the Cardinals in 2005. He's pitched with the Cardinals, the Pirates, the Nats, and the Mets since, and now delivers the 1-0. A little bit of a wrinkle in there, and it's 1-1.
Yeah, in these situations, you just have to tell yourself, with the bases loaded, 1 out, that you're 1 pitch away from completely getting out of it. Not let those negative thoughts creep in about what could happen if he would change the complexion of the game with 1 swing.
Oh! And Lin drills this one to left, off the base of the wall. 1 run will score. Here comes the second, and a big 2 RBI double for Lin, and that makes it 6-2.
Boy, an offense that was just completely stymied to this point, just dead in the water, and the missed double play opportunity by Team Israel has turned into a complete change of fortune for Chinese Taipei. They are right back in it.
And he has put together some really nice swings. Didn't have much to show for it. He flew out to right and lined into a double play earlier in the game, but that big swing drives home 2 as Shang Lin swings and misses 0-1. But Chinese Taipei in business, trailing now 6-2 in the bottom of the 6th inning. And signs of life here in the middle innings. Quickly 0-2 to Lin, who is 0 for 2. Flew out to center field in the 2nd and struck out in the 5th.
And Tardy on those 2 pitches got to stay with the heater and finish him off. 2 very defensive swings.
Lin's a 31-year-old who's playing in his 3rd WBC. Went a combined 1 for 12 in 5 games between the 2009 and 2013 tournaments. But a big chance here to close the gap even more in the 6th. Made his national team debut in the 2005 Asian Games, where he led all players in home runs. Zhang, the runner at 3rd, Lin at 2nd. Lin swings, lifts this one toward right center field. Moving over is Full to make the catch. Tagging from 3rd and in to score is Zhang, and it's now 6-3.
Boy, if you're Israel, you can't help but think about the opportunity missed on the errant throw to second base, which would have been an inning-ending double play and kept the score at 6-0. And these guys think that they are right there.
And now Andrew Lorraine, the pitching coach, comes out to settle everybody down, figure out what the game plan is, and try to keep this at a 3 spot in the 6th. Runs have been scored in bunches in this one. Israel 4 in the 1st, a 2-run homer in the 3rd, And now 3 so far pushed across in the 6th for Chinese Taipei.
Yeah, you can just tell by Andrew Lorraine's body language and in his gestures and talking with him that he's not going to really give his pitchers a lot of mechanical thoughts. It's more just kind of planting a seed mentally about being aggressive and throwing what he likes to call competitive pitches. Pitches like that tantalize the hitter and have him trying to swing the bat on your terms, not the pitches that never look like a strike to where the hitter never thinks about offering at the pitch.
Guo Hei Gao 0 for 2 with potentially the 4th run 90 feet away. Takes a look at strike 2.
Yeah, this is a situation 0-2, and as we've seen it happen before, that you don't try to set something up here. You just try to take him out 0-2 right here.
That one misses a ball and 2 strikes.
Sometimes the fear of giving up 0-2 hits has pitchers trying to get tricky, and the next thing you know, it goes from 0-2 to 3-2. One more pitch and it will be 3-2. And Greg Maddux was big on when he got to 0-2 is take the hitter out, because that'll save you often 10 to 12 pitches later in the game when you would need it. And this is exactly what has happened to Heron. Easily got to 0-2. Throw that put away pitch then.
3 runs in, 3 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs here in the bottom of the 6th. Heron deals. Swing and a miss, strike 3. But a big offensive inning for Chinese Taipei. They finally get the bats going. Shang Lin with the big 2 RBI double. Part of a 3-run inning, 6-3. Welcome back to Seoul, South Korea. Good look there at Shang Lin. Had the big 2 RBI double in the bottom of the 6th inning to get Taipei on the board. They now trail it 6-3 as Ike Davis digs in. 3, 4, and 5 due up for Team Israel. Big swing and a miss. And 0-1 to Davis, who will be followed by Nate Fryman and Zach Borenstein. Davis with a 2 RBI single back in that 4-run first for Team Israel. Has struck out and singled since. And Ike Davis, who did not get the start last night, but did come through with a double, has reached base safely in 4 of his 5 plate appearances so far in this tournament, and has had some, as you might expect, big league swings.
Yeah, he's looked really good squaring the ball up.
And he does so here, high and deep towards center field, back and off the top of the wall. Ike Davis turns and heads towards third, and he is in there with a stand-up triple. Well, he didn't miss a solo home run by much.
Ike just showing you how he gets lift in that swing. He's always had the light tower power. Outstretched arms, just back spinning those deep fly balls that just don't want to seem to come down. Could have used another 3 feet as that hit right on the top of the wall padding, just underneath the yellow line. Nothing to dispute there.
So a leadoff stand-up triple for Team Israel, who obviously got it all started with that 4-run first inning. And you mentioned, Joe, the importance of tacking on runs. They had some other opportunities. They did push 2 across in the 3rd. But now after Chinese Taipei has been able to get their offense into some sort of a rhythm, this has become much more of a game. So now even that much more imperative for Team Israel to answer right back. And doing so, at least to get it started, is Ike Davis with the leadoff triple.
Attack on runs and shut down innings. And Israel was doing that until there was that air of commission on a routine double play ball right back to the pitcher that got it all started. Nice for them for or nice for them to be able to get some more runs back here.
Nate Fryman pulls one into left. That will get down for a base hit. Here comes Ike Davis. And it's now 7-3 Israel.
Now we've seen Davis and Fryman, both long-armed hitters who like to get extended in. Sometimes when that pitch is low, and look how far he is off the plate, and because of those long arms can actually get to those low pitches that a lot of guys can't, getting that extension down to turn that pitcher's pitch into a run-producing single. Well done.
And that will be Sai's last pitch of the night. 7-3 Israel, a pitching change here in Seoul. Back here in Seoul, let's take a look at the game summary. To this point, a 4-run first inning, thanks in part to Ike Davis, who drove in 2 with his base hit. Tyler Krieger capped that 4-run frame with that 2 RBI base hit, a 2-run home run off the bat of Ryan Lavarnway before this 2 RBI double by Lin to get Chinese Taipei a little bit closer. They would add 1 more. And then moments ago, Nate Fryman with the RBI single to get 1 back for Team Israel, which leads this one 7-3 as we play on here in the top of the 7th inning. Paul Severino and Joe McGrain back with you in Seoul, South Korea. The new pitcher is Fu-Tae-Ni, and his first offering to Zach Borenstein is swung at and missed, 0-1. Fu-Tae-Ni, a 34-year-old who pitched in the 2009 WBC. An inning and a third, allowed a run, 3 hits and a home run. Pitched for Chinese Taipei in the 2008 Summer Olympics. And now gets a chance to try to limit further damage here in the 7th inning. Twice he's gone to that slider or off-speed pitch, and twice he's gotten Borenstein to have less than great at-bats.
Yeah, changeup isn't always a pitch that you pull the string on. That was a off-speed breaking ball. And Borenstein committing to it, thinking it was going to have a little bit more mustard on it, a little bit more oomph, and he was well out in front.
So now an 0-2 with Fryman off of first.
Well, Ni over the course of his career has been able to rack up some strikeouts and some swings and misses, falling into that crafty left-hander template.
Now the 1-2 misses low and in. 2 balls and 2 strikes. He signed with the Tigers in 2009, the Detroit Tigers in 2009, after his CPBL team disbanded, and became the first player to sign directly with a major league team right out of the CPBL. 54 major league innings to his credit. So some big league experience for sure. The 2-2 is smacked toward left. It will stay up for Chang to put it away for out number 1.
For Israel, that's really a big point to come back and score a run after Chinese Taipei posted 3 in the bottom of the 6th. As this game continues to get extended and you start to count outs, being able to tack on another run, keep that lead at 4 is huge.
Lavarnway, the 29-year-old out of California, so far 2 for 3 in this ball game, has had himself a nice showing so far for Team Israel, both in the qualifier and here in Seoul through the first couple of games. And again, his 2-run home run back in the 3rd pushed it to a 6-0 cushion. But Chinese Taipei has made things a lot more interesting with a 3 spot in the bottom of the 6th. Israel, however, answering with 1 so far here in the 7th. And now Lavarnway skies this one high and foul down the left field line. So again, it's a round robin pool format in the 4 pools, obviously here in Seoul, Tokyo, which starts very soon. Jalisco in Mexico in a couple of days, and Miami as well. 2 teams will advance from each of those pools and go to Tokyo and San Diego before the final 4 essentially meet up in Los Angeles toward the end of the month. But if Team Israel can get a second win here today, it would certainly increase their chances, not guarantee anything, but increase their chances of moving on to round 2 in Tokyo.
Well, they got a huge start coming out of the gate today after a quick turnaround last night, and talked about throughout the course of this game the main theme being momentum. And you know, you rarely have those games where you get off to the lead and just throw your hat out there. There's a point that it happens seemingly in every game that you're going to have to make a pitch or make an out, not give a team an extra out, where it was very costly for Israel, but good that they could come back and score here in this inning. The Chinese Taipei has definitely got their attention.
But Team Israel has been very busy on the offensive side of things, even though last night they only scored the 2 runs in the 10-inning win over Team Korea. They had a lot of base runners, and so far in 17 innings of play so far in the first game, and we'll call it game and 2/3 here, 31 base runners in 17 innings. That's almost 2 an inning for Team Israel. And keep in mind, they've left the bases loaded on, what, 4 occasions already. So they have certainly had their chances to really blow games open, as Lavarnway will take that one off the arm and take the free base. 2 on, 1 away here in the 7th.
Need trying to catch part of the inside corner, and Lavarnway just kind of turns away from it, just getting a little glancing blow. He's used to that as a catcher with all the foul tips.
Going to have a pinch hitter here for Team Israel, as Cody Decker will take over for Blake Galen. Decker got the start last night, but was 0 for 3 with a strikeout. He comes in off the bench here with 1 away and 2 on in the top of the 7th, and his club up 7-3, looking for more insurance. And he might find it. A base hit through the left side, and a red light given by Tom Gamboa, as Nate Fryman will hold up at 3rd. So the base is loaded yet again for Team Israel.
Yeah, I know with 2 outs you become a lot more aggressive as a third base coach, but Gamboa, knowing that that ball was in the left fielder's hand before the big fella even made it to third base, and just had to put the stop sign out. And now if Israel can, you know, continue with grinding some at-bats, this could lead to 2 more runs.
Well, this is Tyler Krieger, who has 2 hits to his credit already, had that 2 RBI single back in the 1st. The number 18 prospect in the Indians organization entering this season, according to Baseball America. Checks his swing, but a strike nonetheless. 0-1.
And I was earlier comparing him to Carlos Beltran with the kind of the stance, just his mannerisms at the plate, the way his hands work, like Beltran, a switch hitter.
Fryman, Lavarnway, and Decker, your runners, 3rd to 1st. Israel looking for more. They've scored 1 in this inning and have a 4-run lead in the top of the 7th. And Krieger lines a base hit into center field. Fryman will score easily. Being held at 3rd is Lavarnway. And Krieger has settled in very nicely to these situations, as that was his 4th plate appearance with the bases loaded. And the base hit is 3rd of the day and 3rd RBI. It's now 8-3.
Boy, that was beautiful. He looked really hitterish. Talking about the Beltran comparisons, just the patience, and just watch him, just very rhythmic, gets those hands right into the launch position. Nice trigger. Coming up with a big 2-run producing hit, but really looking good at the plate doing it.
And now another pitching change here for Chinese Taipei, trying to hold Israel at 8. Going to be tough. They're loaded. We're back. Welcome back to Seoul. 5th pitcher of the night for Chinese Taipei as Chen Hua Lin takes over, a 28-year-old who's pitched in the CPBL since 2012. Primarily a starter from 2012 to 2014. Only started 3 games the last couple of years. Obviously coming out of the bullpen right here. Pitching to a 6.05 ERA, and he comes in a big spot here with Israel up 8-3 and the bases loaded. Lavarnway, Decker, and Krieger, your runners 3rd to 1st. For Scott Burcham, who is 0 for 3. It was Burcham last night who had his defense working for sure and drove in the run that gave Israel a 2-1 lead in the 10th. They would go on to win by that same score. No such issues scoring runs this afternoon as they've pushed across 8 runs and looking for more. Laying down the bunt, and the squeeze will work. Nobody's at first, and it goes all the way down the right field line. In comes Decker, in comes Krieger, and on a ball that goes about 15 feet in front of home plate, 3 runs score to open it up to an 11-3 lead for Israel.
How about that? Chinese Taipei not thinking that with the bases loaded. Perfectly executed bunt, and just a panic by the pitcher coming into the game. He just passed right by the first baseman. He was thinking the second baseman was going to be there and just threw it blindly. And obviously the merry-go-round started. Just a reaction thinking the second baseman was going to be on the bag. And just as quickly the fortunes changed to get them back into the game.
And now they'll play the infield in on the left side, maybe even with the bag or a step behind it on the right side for Sam Fuld, who takes a strike. Fuld 1 for 4. Now it's something we mentioned off the top for Chinese Taipei. They've spent probably more time together than any of the 4 teams here.
78 days.
And now this one, a hot shot towards short. They will come home and cut off a run as Burcham is tagged out. Full to reach first on the fielder's choice, 2 away. But yeah, they spent, what, 78 days together, and then, you know, it's those little things that I'm sure you work on 65 of those 78 days. And it comes back to haunt him, a miscue that scores 3 runs on a squeeze attempt for Israel.
Well, if there was an invisible guy there at first, I must say it was a good throw. It was accurate, but there was nobody there.
That much we can confirm. That one is tapped foul off the bat of Ty Kelly, who is 2 for 4.
Yeah, it has to be very punishing for Chinese Taipei, who really were out of it for this entire game until the last half inning. They think it's a whole new ball game, and then just tortured by these runs coming in. 5 in the top of the 7th, and they're right back where they started.
A ball and a strike to Ty Kelly with Sam Fuld off of first. Fastball paints the outside corner. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Low and Chen begin to loosen in the Chinese Taipei bullpen. First of 2 games here for us in Seoul today, as coming up in a few hours from now, it'll be the host country Korea taking on the Kingdom of the Netherlands. And the Dutch squad, the last of the 4 teams to see game action. And quite frankly, probably easily the most stacked club in this pool here in Seoul. Lots of major league experience, lots of superstars. Off the end of the bat, diving play at third. In and out of the glove, though, of Zhang, and then the throw to second goes into right field, so advancing to third is Fold.
Yeah, one of those situations where you have that clock in your head as an infielder. It looks like to the beginnings of an outstanding play that's in the glove and just barely rolls out. And if there is a play, it is at first base. Based on 2 outs and Fold running well, but sometimes in your haste, you're not thinking that way, through to the wrong base. And you're right, Paul, for a team that has spent 78 days together in training and really boning up on the fundamentals, it's really blown up on them here in this inning.
It'll be scored a base hit and an E5, but Sam Fold on at third, Ty Kelly on at first, and Ike Davis, who led off this inning with a stand-up triple, will bat for the second time here in the 7th.
I think of Ike Davis, you think of long home runs, but not triples.
No, not stand-up triples for sure.
Like a Tennessee walking horse making his way around the bases.
Ike Davis has taken some good swings over these first couple of games for Team Israel. They will rely on his bat both in the starting lineup and off the bench in certain spots as well, as they did last night. He came in off the bench, halfway around the world from where he's used to, and boom, had a double. Today, 2 singles and the triple to his credit. First and third, 2 outs, top 7. 5 runs in for Israel. Pops this one up. It'll be the third baseman, Zhang, making the catch. But 5 runs in for Israel to stretch it to an 11-3 lead. Welcome back to Seoul, South Korea. Gochok Stadium here for Pool A play of the 2017 World Baseball Classic. Paul Severino and Joe McGrain with you. Day 2, day 1 of our game 1 rather, of our doubleheader, as we are back for the bottom of the 7th inning. As 7, 8, and 9 due up for Chinese Taipei. Youngji Chen leads things off, followed by the catcher Da Hung Jen and the center fielder Chen Hua Lin. That one misses outside from Tyler Heron, who's the third pitcher of the afternoon for Team Israel. Just a bit outside there, and they count now 2 balls and 1 strike.
And Heron wants to just think about attacking the strike zone, not working deep counts. Much better. Just very crisp in his pitching approach. Much in the same way that Corey Baker, Israel's starter, was. To really give the offense some momentum and a chance to get things going.
Swung on and chopped to short. It's Burcham. Routine out for number 1 here in the 7th inning.
And Burcham has really been impressive. Just a very stable presence at second base. In fact, they look very good up the middle with Krieger and Burcham. Seem to develop great chemistry around the bag. Multiple double plays last night. Communicate very well. Looks like they've been playing together for a long time. And when it's good, it's going good.
Da Hung Jang takes upstairs. 1 ball and no strikes. Jang 0 for 2, flew out in the 3rd and grounded out in the 5th. And lines this one into right field for a base hit. A 1-out knock here in the 7th inning. And to piggyback on top of what you're talking about with the defense between shortstop and second base, we talk about it all the time. Good teams are built strong up the middle.
Well, you're right. That really illustrated itself last night. You have great catches. by Fold, not only today, but last night. Sam Fold in center field. Ryan Lavarnway doing a great job squiring the pitching staff. Outstanding throw to cut down a runner in last night's game. A home run today. So as far as just the fundamental aspect of putting a good team together and strength up the middle, Team Israel has that. And the talk was about the upset of Korea, but they have played very well together as a group. And of course, I think they have a very high-end manager in the way that he lays things out, from WBC qualifier to where they were in the best position to succeed. And he's back at it again here in the WBC.
A ball and a strike to Chen Hua Lin, who looks at that one, 2 balls and a strike. And that's the thing, and we've talked about it. There is a clear immediacy to these games in the World Baseball Classic. You need wins any way you can get them. And that's why it doesn't matter if Team Israel was 1 for 9 with 14 left on base last night or not. They got the win. And you just have to collect wins at this point in time. So there's an immediacy on the game itself. But what Jerry Weinstein and Andrew Lorraine and the entire coaching staff have been able to do for Team Israel is also have a plan for the big picture as well. And I say that obviously with Jason Marquis in mind. Jason Marquis got the start last night and went 45 pitches. Now again, we've mentioned it, but if you missed it, if you go 50, you need 4 days off. And there aren't 4 days to play with in pool play. So it essentially eliminates you from pitching again in pool play. So you keep him under 50. He's able to come back if they want him, if they need him. They may have gotten a little lucky with Josh Zeid out of the bullpen last night, who finished it off. 3 innings pitched and got the last out of the game in the 10th inning on his 49th pitch. As that one misses upstairs, runner was on the move, but it doesn't matter as it's ball 4. There's 2 on and 1 out here in the 7th inning.
Well, that's what I like so much about the format. Oftentimes it seems like the game is beginning in the 7th inning because of that immediacy, and you can't just ride one hot hand, one hot pitcher. You have to use everyone, and a rule that started by protecting guys has actually turned into a great form of strategy.
No question about it. Dylan Axelrod warmed last night, never got in the game. He's coming in right now. An 11-3 lead for Israel. Welcome back to Seoul. Paul Severino, Joe McGrain with you. Dylan Axelrod on to work for Team Israel. 4th pitcher of the night for Team Israel. 31-year-old from Santa Barbara, California. Originally drafted by the Padres in the 30th round of the 2007 draft. Pitched in 59 games and 34 starts in parts of 5 seasons with the White Sox and the Reds. And he was warming for a couple of innings last night. Never got in the game because Josh Zeid finished it off. And he's been warming up for a couple innings here. I mean, he's a professional, so he knows how to pace himself, but good for him to finally get onto the WBC mound here in 2017. He'll work with an 11-3 lead here in the bottom of the 7th inning. 2 on and 1 out. The leadoff hitter, Chin Lung Hu, the DH, digs in. 1 for 3, singled and came around to score in the 6th. And plenty of work to do here for Chinese Taipei. His first offering is fouled away.
Well, Israel has not had a difficult time, rolling up the double play ball until the last inning, when a made-to-order one was thrown away to get Chinese Taipei on the board. And again, with this big lead, you got to challenge these guys and make them hit like that.
Tapper out in front. Lavarnway throws to first after a thought about throwing to second, and he gets the out. First of 2 games for you here from Seoul, South Korea. As coming up at 6:30 local time, it's Korea against the Kingdom of the Netherlands. So Team Korea again losing in extra innings last night to this Israeli team, looking to bounce back as the host country, but a tough test against the Kingdom of the Netherlands squad, who boasts 6 major league players from 2016 rosters, the most of the 4 here in Seoul. So they will certainly be a force to be reckoned with, the Dutch team here in Pool A. Chi Hao Chang, the left fielder, takes a called strike.
Kingdom of the Netherlands team is so stacked that a Major League All-Star shortstop can't play shortstop. Has to play third, Xander Bogaerts.
Yeah, they will have a lot of combinations and permutations up the middle. Andrelton Simmons, Jonathan Scope, Didi Gregorius, Xander Bogaerts, Jurickson Profar, and a partridge in a pear tree on that roster, but certainly a stacked roster. Hensley Mullins is the skipper, knows how to move around the chess pieces a little bit. All those guys will see plenty of time. Jurickson Profar probably of the bunch will see the time in the outfield. That's more of a Texas Rangers thing. But he'll be another one of those guys who bounces around the diamond a little bit. Didi Gregorius, typically a shortstop with the New York Yankees, will play some second. As you mentioned, Joe, Xander Bogaerts moves from short to third in this tournament. And we might be watching a little bit later on tonight the best defensive shortstop in this tournament in Andrelton Simmons. A called strike 3, and that's out number 3. We're through 7 here in Seoul. An 8-run lead for Israel. Welcome back to Go Chalk Sky Dome. Paul Severino, Joe McGrain with you. An 11-3 lead for Team Israel, looking to improve to 2-0 here in Pool A. New pitcher for Chinese Taipei is Chen Hua Lin, a 24-year-old who's part of Chinese Taipei's active pitchers pool, or designated pitchers pool, but clearly active for the first round. His first pitch to Nate Fryman misses upstairs, a ball and no strikes. For Lowe, he was signed by the Minnesota Twins in 2011 and was with the organization until his release in 2016. 1-0 coming to Fryman. Pops this one way up near the rafters here at the Sky Dome, and who wants it? It'll be the left fielder, Jang. And boy, that was an adventure, but it's out number 1.
Boy, that was something else. The shortstop's camped right underneath it, and almost like Jang playing Ring Around the Rosie, coming right around the shortstop, called him off, and he ends up catching it in front of the shortstop. You don't see that very often. It's like, all right, attaboy, whatever it takes.
Well, they say it's the outfielder's ball, but and this is a tough roof too, as we mentioned before. It's got a little bit of that, and you know it well, obviously, the little bit of a Metrodome kind of feel to it.
Metrodome or the Trop. The Metrodome was more like this dome, where during the day you had that change of hue at the top, where when you're tracking that fly ball, you have to really continuously keep your eye on it. You can't look and see where you are on the field and then look back up and attempt to reacquire it. That's the mistake that a lot of outfielders do when they're playing in dome stadiums. Kind of counterintuitive is they have to, especially during day games, as you can see, still light out here in Seoul. So the hue of the roof is a little bit different, easier to track the ball at night.
2-0 on the way to Zach Borenstein, who scorches one toward the left center field gap. This will get down and get to the wall. Borenstein with extra bases with 1 out here in the 8th. It's his second double of the afternoon.
And on both of those double, Paul, his swing has been very impressive. Just taking what the pitcher gives him on the outside part of the plate, and he is not pull oriented at all. And just a beautiful job of releasing the bat through the middle of the field. It's a good pitcher's pitch, well located. And when you have that kind of locked in hitting mechanics and you can take pitches like that and turn them into extra base hits, you're cooking with gas.
This is a pinch hitter coming up for Team Israel, as Nick Rickles will take over for Ryan Lavarnway. So a good job here by Jerry Weinstein, making sure that everybody gets a little bit of a taste of the WBC. Rickles, a 27-year-old from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, 14th round pick by the A's in 2011. He was actually the catcher for Jacob deGrom while in college. Bornstein off of second. The pitch to Rickles is drilled toward left, and that's off the wall. In to score is Bornstein, and a big turnaround first, but staying there is Rickles with an RBI single.
Well, that's a nice way to come off the bench. And that ball was hit so hard, no chance for him to make it into second base. Israel collects another run for all the people they stranded on base last night. They're picking them up today.
Yeah.
They have just rolled right into this noon start, ready to rock. And I wonder if he's related to the old insult comic, The Great Don Rickles.
May have been on page 2 of the research packet for Nick Rickles, but we can look into that as Cody Decker digs in.
We brought a research guy over here from MLB Network. I can't believe we don't have that answer.
Well, he's currently not in the booth. He's looking for some barbecue for you, big fella, so he'll be back in a few minutes.
Well, priorities.
Yeah, exactly. Decker gets his second trip to the plate. He singled and scored back in the 7th inning and swings over the top of that one, 1-1. See the numbers there for Decker, something of a down year, as it were, and still some pretty good numbers, as he had averaged 23 home runs per season from 2010 to 2015. This one is hit high in the air toward left center field, but Lin makes the catch for out number 2. Something to keep in mind with a 9-run cushion at this point for Team Israel. Look right down there to the after 7 innings part of it. If a team is up or down by 10 after 7, it's an early termination. That rule not in play for the championship round, but we are not there quite yet. This is just pool play. So if Israel is able to get a 10-run cushion, then Chinese Taipei would have 3 offensive outs remaining to keep this game going. But for right now, it's just 12-3, but something to certainly keep in mind as the pitch to Tyler Krieger is in there for a called strike. One of the few trips to the plate for Krieger where he hasn't been up with the bases loaded. He does have 3 hits to his credit today and 3 RBIs. Swings and misses, 0-2. Rickles the runner on first, and an 0-2 coming to Krieger. Breaking ball misses low. As low is the 6th pitcher of the night here for Chinese Taipei. Went 11-4 with a 2.23 ERA across 5 seasons in the Twin system. So while there may not be a lot of current major league players on the Chinese Taipei roster, there is some major league experience, or at least affiliated ball experience, trickled throughout the roster. But we did mention before that one of the teams in Taiwan is boycotting the WBC, so this is not as strong a roster as it could be. They still like their chances to compete. This one in the air toward left center. Having to battle the lights is Chang to put it away for out number 3. Israel scores another. They're up 12-3. Welcome back to Seoul. New pitcher for Team Israel as Danny Burawa takes over, a 28-year-old from New York, 12th round pick of the Yankees in 2010. In fact, he grew up a Yankees fan and made his major league debut at Yankee Stadium on Father's Day in 2015. You talk about a perfect script. That is it. Currently with the Atlanta Braves organization, pitched at AA and AAA for him last year. So he's on in relief of Dylan Axelrod, who got a couple of outs in the 7th. 3, 4, and 5 due up here for Chinese Taipei in the bottom of the 8th inning, as their third baseman Chi Shenzhang leads things off. After him, Shang Lin and Yishuan Lin.
For Chinese Taipei, has not been a lot for them to trumpet about.
Playing all the hits today, aren't you, Joe? Well, I will certainly give the fans credit. They have not slowed down one bit. I think I said that at some point last night, maybe in the 2nd inning. I said it doesn't matter if Korea is going to be up 10-0 or down 10-0, as this one is lined to left center field, but Fuld is there to put it away. But these fans are into it just about every pitch. They get their money's worth when they come to the yard. They have a good time.
I think that was so cool in just the culture of it. There were about 5 to 6 different types of cheers, chants, and celebrations all going on in different parts of the ballpark at the same time.
Shang Lin takes ball 1. Lin had the 2 RBI double back in the 6th inning. And it was at that point it made the game 6-2. They would tack on another run in that inning and make it 6-3. And it was at that point that I think a lot of people thought that this was going to be a lot closer game as we got down to the final outs, the final innings. But Team Israel tacking on 5 runs in the next half inning to really blow things open yet again as Lin fouls that one away. Team captain for Chinese Taipei coming through with a big hit earlier, but right now nobody on and 1 out with his team down 9 in the bottom of the 8th. And now for Team Israel, as every team is guaranteed 3 games, this is kind of the reward, I guess, as it were, for them. As forgive us for getting out in front of ourselves here, but up 12-3 in the 8th. Let's, at least for the moment, pencil them in for another victory. So they get the win last night in the opener of the tournament. They have to sleep quick, ride some adrenaline, get back out here for the noon start the next day. But now the reward is, again, assuming a victory, they're 2-0. Their next game is against the Netherlands on Wednesday here in Seoul. Hot shot to third as Ty Kelly stays with it for out number 2.
Boy, there's a couple times where he's made some plays that could be problematic. Really look easy. He had a backhand play earlier in the game. Kept his glove down beautifully, just a crossover and outstanding fundamentals. And it starts with fundamentals of feet spread, seat down, hands in front, and then you work up. So if you're down and then the ball gets a high hop, he's able to come up and ride up with it. And we talked about the irregular hops in the fast track, and he played it beautifully.
So as Yishuan Lin, we'll try that again. Yishuan Lin steps in. 1-0 on the way. That one misses. So to get back to that point about the schedule, so the reward is if they're able to hold on to this 12-3 lead, they get the day off. They get the benefit of the day off before going into that ball game against the Netherlands. So Chinese Taipei, the Netherlands, the way that the format breaks down, they don't get the benefit of the day off. They'll play at least 3 consecutive days. And I say at least because there's potential for a tiebreaker on Friday. But that's the reward for winning these 2 games, I guess.
Well, and also they get Josh Zeid back, who could pitch in multiple roles and is stretched out as well. But it's starting to turn the corner into looking the way it was for Israel in Brooklyn in the qualifier, where that 3rd game, everything is lined up for them right now if they can close this one out.
Lin draws the walk, first of the game and first of the tournament for Danny Burwa, who makes his first appearance here in this WBC, as pitching coach Andrew Lorraine talking with the third base coach Tom Gamboa. Sitting pretty at this point, Team Israel. Their first trip to the World Baseball Classic. And again, when you say that, you think, oh, you know, they're going to be inexperienced, they're going to be pie-eyed. Not quite the case. I mean, there is a lot of experience, whether it's major league experience or whether it's minor league experience in the States. There have been a lot of guys who have played some good competition at varying levels, and they are ready to step up to the challenge. As that one just misses Gao, the right fielder. The ball and a strike.
Yeah, I think they were wide-eyed about the experience. They were pie-eyed after the game.
You might be right about that. Broken bat and floated out toward left field for a base hit.
Well, that bat died a hero. That good pitch made. Saw blading the hitter right down on the trademark. Happy to trade that for a hit. Sometimes the height of the pitch coming in there when it's around the belt, even though it breaks the bat and saws a guy off, he still has enough to just get a little humpback liner over the infield, and it was good enough for a hit.
A little two-out rally going here for Chinese Taipei as Lin is on at second base and Gao over at first for the shortstop, Youngji Chen, who is 1 for 3, a single back in the 5th. So now if you're Chinese Taipei, their next game is against the Netherlands tomorrow night. Just one game here in Seoul tomorrow, a late afternoon, early evening affair. So Chinese Taipei and the Netherlands tomorrow. The 0-1 on the way. Froze him with a little breaking ball, and the count 0-2. It's the 4th WBC for Chinese Taipei. 3-7 overall coming into this ball game here this afternoon in the previous 3 tournaments. In 2013, they reached the 2nd round. This is a tough pool for this team. As we mentioned before, not exactly as strong as they would hope. They've got to get through a tough Netherlands team tomorrow in hopes of getting in the win column somehow, some way. Ball and 2 strikes to the shortstop, Youngji Chen. 2 on, 2 away. Burwa deals. Now, Joe, he's been testing that lower quadrant of the strike zone.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say that. I'm glad you brought it up. Just talking about how some of the ways that the game has evolved. And normally a score like this in this situation, you pump fastballs in there, make the guy put it into play, and that's more like it.
A called strike 3 for the final out of the 8th. Israel in control here in Seoul. We're back in a moment. Back here at Gochok Skydome in Seoul, South Korea, Paul Severino, Joe McGrain with you. A 12-3 lead for Team Israel as Shang Lin takes over at second base here in the 9th inning. As Lowe stays out there for his 2nd inning of work, he'll face 9, 1, and 2 for Team Israel. Scott Burcham and then Sam Fuld and Ty Kelly. Burcham 1 for 4, a single and an E1, but that deserves a little bit more of an explanation as the bases were loaded back in the 7th inning, and he laid down a bunt. Bunt trickled 15, 20 feet in front of home plate. Pitcher grabs it, throws it down the first base line because nobody was covering first base. 3 runs came around to score to help really blow the game open back in the 7th inning. This one is popped up, shallow right. Could be trouble, but the newcomer Lin makes the catch, and there's 1 away.
Well, Israel fans have a lot to be proud about. The way things worked out last night against Korea, the way they're working out today against Chinese Taipei, and Jerry Weinstein has his team sitting pretty in this Pool A here in Seoul.
And now it's Sam Fuld taking a called strike. Fuld has reached base twice. A hit, and he scored a run in the first and reached on a fielder's choice in the 7th. And this has been really the polar opposite of last night when Team Israel was 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position, left 14 runners on base. Today they've pumped out 12 runs and 19 hits. And those 19 hits, the most since Australia had 22 against Mexico in the 2009 World Baseball Classic. So now it's, you know, as we talked about in the open, good for them. They got the quick turnaround, they get the win, they can ride some emotion. Now they finally get the bats going, and they've got to wait for a day or two because they'll have tomorrow off. But I'm sure that they'll look at that win-loss column and see a 2 on one side and a 0 on the other and say we're good to go.
Yeah, I think the quick turnaround was the best thing for them, and really just kind of got them into a real simplified form. Sometimes you just show up, you don't take batting practice and roll the balls out there and say, let's go, fellas. And it becomes simple at the plate. See ball, hit ball, and not overly bogged down with mechanics, be it pitching or be it hitting. And of course, a lot to smile about. And that's the other thing that's been really cool about this team is that it is very palpable how much that they care for one another and how much of a tight-knit group it is.
Swing and a miss, and Sam Fuld is retired. Second time that he has been set down on strikes today. And that's out number 2 here in the 9th. Now it's a third baseman, Ty Kelly, who has 3 hits in this ball game. A double, and he scored a run back in the first. A single in the 4th, and a single and an E5 in the 7th. Chinese Taipei looks on again. Their next game against the Kingdom of the Netherlands tomorrow night. The only game here in Seoul, as the schedule goes 1 game doubleheader, 1 game doubleheader with the potential for a tiebreaker game on the 10th if necessary. And that would be if, well, I'm sure there's too many combinations to really get through, but the point being is if they need to figure out who that second team would be to head to Tokyo for round 2, that's why we'd need to play the game on Friday. But we'll worry about that a little later in the week. Right now, just watching Team Israel up by 9 here in the 9th. The 3-0 to Kelly. Misses low and in. A 4-pitch walk. And he is aboard for the 4th time in this ball game. First walk issued by Lowe. And a pinch hitter here for Team Israel as Mike Myers will step to the plate. He was a pinch runner last night, took over at 3rd in the 10th inning, and ultimately scored the winning run in the ball game against Korea. So he'll get an at-bat. 23-year-old from Las Vegas, the 12th round pick of the Red Sox in 2012.
Yeah, that was some shrewd managing by Jerry Weinstein at that time. Ike Davis had just gone first to third, so it was first and third with 2 out. And he had moved Mike Myers in to pinch run for Ike Davis. Burcham put the ball in play. Myers scoring that go-ahead and winning run.
Kelly off of first, not being held on with a 9-run lead as Myers takes that one outside. 2 balls and no strikes. For Myers, primarily an infielder, but moved to the outfield in 2013. That was his second year in the Boston organization. 2-0 from Lowe. Big swing and a miss. 2-1. Lowe's expected to join the Chinese Professional Baseball League in 2017, hoping to use the WBC as a showcase of his skills. And on that pitch, he looked pretty good as he gets Myers to swing and miss. Now 2-2. 12 runs on 19 hits and 1 error for Israel. 3 runs, 7 hits, 2 crucial errors for Chinese Taipei.
And it looked like the 1 error that Israel had committed, an errant throw from the pitcher's mound that would have been a slam dunk double play. Seems like a long time ago, got Chinese Taipei right back into the game.
Kelly was on the move on the 3-2 pitch and it misses outside, so back-to-back walks as Myers reaches on the free pass. 2 on and 2 out here in the 9th. More action in the bullpen as Yunwen Chen is loosening up. .34 pitches to this point for Lowe. Again, came on in the 8th inning. As Nate Fryman digs in here in the 9th. Fryman singled and scored in the 1st and had an RBI single in the 7th. Really, the tone of this game was set in the 1st inning when the first 4 batters for Team Israel reached single, double, single, single. They all came around to score, part of that 4-run inning. Shang Lin, the starting pitcher, 2/3 of an inning, surrendering 6 hits and 4 earned runs. And since then, it's been nothing but catch up for Chinese Taipei. Again, as close as they got was in the 6th inning when they put 3 runs on the board and closed it to a 6-3 score. But not long after that, top 7, 5 runs across for Israel. The 1-1 misses up and in on Fryman. 2-1.
Again, no time to nibble, needing to be aggressive with the fastball, throw the ball over the plate. And there's the 1st inning, as you were mentioning, Paul. This guy's just sprung out of bed.
And now Fryman drills one to left field. That is gone. A 3-run home run for Nate Fryman. And it's 15-3 Israel.
Cody Decker was talking about this ballpark. If you hit the ball hard and don't really hit it so high, it has a chance to really carry much better. And that was just a perfect description of how that ball got out of here. Look at this, just a 2-iron right off the tee on a complete line that you could hang laundry on, out of here in a hurry. That's not the type of ball you want to try to catch. An absolute missile.
And now it's Zach Borenstein. (15-3) Israel. Boy, oh boy, we said it before. For all the missed opportunities they had last night, they have made up for it in a big way. And this is why, Joe. I know we've touched on it a number of times. But there was a bit of a sense that, oh, Israel, they won the first game. It's such a big upset. And given the world rankings, absolutely. Korea's number 3. Israel's number 41. They're in the 40s. But perhaps it's a little bit of a different squad between who's here in the WBC and necessarily the players who make up, you know, that 41st ranked team. There's a lot of experience here, a lot of power, as we've seen. This team can score runs. It's just a matter of getting the ball to bounce their way. Last night it didn't. Thus far this afternoon it has, up by 12 in the 9th.
Well, plus Israel's manager just has a great feel for the format and how to succeed in these games, knowing you have to use a lot of your players, all of your pitchers. You can't ride the hot hand of one pitcher. Any team can look like a real good team when they've got an outstanding pitcher on the mound for 9 innings or 7 innings, whatever.
And mention that Israel is ranked 41st in the World Baseball Softball Confederation rankings. That's 16th among the teams here in the World Baseball Classic. So from that standpoint, it absolutely was an upset yesterday. And Chinese Taipei ranked 4th. Sure, you can consider this an upset as well. But knowing the rosters, I know you did too, thought that they'd make some noise. They have. Nate Fryman's 3-run home run stretches it to a 12-run lead for Team Israel as we go to the bottom of the 9th here in Seoul. Welcome back to Seoul. Nate Fryman's low line drive 3-run home run, stretching this one to a 15-3 lead for Team Israel as we move to the bottom of the 9th inning. 8-9-1 due up for Chinese Taipei as Da Hung Jang, the catcher, leads things off against Troy Neiman, the new pitcher for Team Israel. 26-year-old from California. He went undrafted out of California State University in 2013, but signed with the Rockies. Spent the last 4 years in their system. Whoa!
Did that go through him?
It might have. I don't know how he got out of the way.
The pitch just continues to cut, and I don't know how. There's some incredibly 360 evasive action right there to get out of the way of that one.
2-2 just misses outside, and the count runs full. Corey Baker got the start for Team Israel. I think Jang really wants to hit. He says, I know that was ball 4, but I'm going to dig in. I'm going to stay here.
Yeah,
I want to swing the bat.
I think just doing that whirly bird kind of disoriented him just enough to where he lost track of the count. A little dizzy.
So now it's the center fielder Chen Hua Lin, who is 0 for 2. He walked back in the 7th. And a strike there. So Corey Baker got the start, 4 2/3. Didn't give up a hit or a base runner until an out was recorded in the 4th inning. He struck out 3. And then Orlan, Heron, Axelrod, Burrowa, and now Neiman on the pitching ledger for Jerry Weinstein and Team Israel, who is sitting pretty right now with their eyes on a victory here this afternoon. A day off tomorrow to rest and recuperate. And then when they get back at it on Thursday afternoon here in Seoul, they will have the Kingdom of the Netherlands waiting for them. Netherlands playing later on tonight against the host country, Korea. This is a line drive, base hit into center field. Off the bat of Lin, and 2 runners aboard here for Chinese Taipei with nobody out in the 9th.
Yeah, I think Nate Fryman's just saying, hey, let's go. Let's get some outs. 3 quick ones. Ponder the many great choices of where to eat tonight in Seoul. Be ready to rock the day after that.
While they're dining, we'll be here watching Korea and the Kingdom of the Netherlands. 6:30 local time here at Go-Chuk Stadium. As the first pitch to Chin Lung Hu is in there for a called strike. Hu singled and scored back in the 6th. And Chinese Taipei got as close as they would get after falling behind 6-0. They scored 3 in the bottom of the 6th inning. And that one is ripped foul wide of the third base bag. 1-2. Zhang the runner on at second after the walk, and Lin the runner at first after the base hit. As Hu needs to get a new piece of lumber. Two balls and 2 strikes. Nobody out here in the 9th inning.
Oh, good pitch there. I think if he was a little bit more around the plate, he'd get that call.
Just got a piece of that one to stay alive.
Now, the point I was bringing up a little earlier about when you have these large leads or deficits, however you choose to look at them, you know, it used to be that pitchers became very aggressive with their fastballs, pounding the strike zones, not a lot of different pitches thrown.
Right back to the box, knocked down, throw to first in time for out number 1. I got a good piece of Neiman right there. He's able to collect himself and the ball and get the out at first. That's the second time, Joe, that we've seen a Team Israel pitcher have to get a meeting on the mound with the trainer after a comebacker.
Well, with his follow through, just kind of going over towards the first base side, and look where his glove is. It's behind him, and it's one of those deals where you don't know which way to go with your glove, and it feels kind of stuck when it's on the backside of your body where your front side is exposed. It wasn't hit all that particularly hard, other than, you know, made to travel a lot quicker by the speed of the surface. And he's just hoping that it didn't hit him anywhere on the hand or the fingers that cause them to swell or become sore and affect the pitches. He seems okay. That's a good thing.
Couple of warm-up tosses to check his health. He's good to go. So the runners do advance on the 1-3 putout. So moving to third is Zhang, and Lin off to second. And now it's the left fielder, Chi-Hao Chang, who reached on an error and came around to score in the 6th inning, as that one is smothered by Rickles behind home plate. was that E4 back in the 6th inning. That was on a comebacker. Orland fielded it, the pitcher fielded it through to second base, and the ball just kind of tailed a little bit on Krieger. Went off his glove into shallow right center field and helped Chinese Taipei to score some runs in that inning. And if not for the benefit of that Israeli miscue, we might be looking at a early termination final at this point. Swing and a miss, strike 2.
Does appear, Neiman does, to have that good straight change, and of course those are made much better by being able to work aggressively in the strike zone.
Swung on and hit in the air toward left. Decker going back. He'll play this one off the wall. 2 runs are going to come in to score for Chinese Taipei, and they'll close this one to 15-5.
I don't think Decker got a real good look at it. May have lost it a little bit in the roof. He seemed to have a root that was very unsure of himself. The ball was down. It really wasn't, leaned on.
That's going to do it for Neiman. A pitching change for Team Israel. We're back to Seoul in a moment. Welcome back to Seoul. A new pitcher on for Team Israel here with 1 out in the bottom of the 9th inning as Dean Kramer takes over. A 21-year-old from California became the first Israeli citizen to be drafted by a major league team when the Padres took him in the 38th round of the 2015 draft. However, he didn't sign. Instead, he signed with the Dodgers a year later when he was taken in the 14th round. He will try to get the last couple of outs for Team Israel. And they have had a lead and been in control for a good portion of this ball game. In fact, right from the jump, the first 4 batters reached and all 4 came around to score. So they've been in control all afternoon here in Seoul. The only problem is trying to put Chinese Taipei to bed here. It's been tough as Chi Shin Zhang is at the plate with 1 on and 1 out here in the 9th. And he lines one toward Decker in left. That will get down and get to the wall. Around from third is Chang, and into second with an RBI double is Zhang. It's now 15-6.
A little something for Chinese Taipei to get excited about. They've had a couple of moments where they've got a little something going and felt that they were getting back into it. Cody Decker with those short strides kind of looking a little bit like the dancing bear out there in left field, but I don't think he was going to be able to get to that one, unlike the first one. He's out there to hit home runs.
That's right, and he did not start the game in left field. That was Blake Galen. But Decker came on as a pinch hitter in the middle innings, and he has since taken over in left. And now the ball finds him yet again. He'll field this one on a hop, get it in quick. And Lin's base hit makes it now a 1st and 3rd situation.
Just a little get me over pitch and flipped into left or served into left. Yeah, all right.
Well, Joe, listen, Chinese Taipei has a long way to go to get back into this game. But if you look at the back half of this ball game, at least from an offensive standpoint, I would think that they feel pretty good about going forward.
Yeah, we talked about how important momentum is, and I think that had a lot to do with the success of Israel in today's game. And we'll see what happens with Korea, because their momentum has been going the other direction. They haven't been swinging the bats, and the bats have come alive for Chinese Taipei. And the manager, Kuo, has talked about how his team is young, needs a little bit more experience and seasoning, and some of those attributes can come through this form later in the game, developing a little bit of confidence.
Jerry Weinstein just wants to put this game to bed. That one is through the right side for a base hit. As Lin drives home a run, it's now 15-7.
You got to believe, Paul. Look at him.
Well, why not? They've been at it all afternoon. So, I mean, there's no sense in giving up now.
Enthusiasm that just can't be tempered, and a lot of smiles in Chinese Taipei's dugout, even though well behind, and the fans are still buying in.
So Lin's RBI drives home the 4th run of the inning.
Break out the rally trumpet.
That guy's been at it all day long. Good for him. Wohei Gao is at the plate with 2 on and 1 out, and he swings and misses 1-1. Gao struck out twice in the 5th and in the 6th, but singled in the 8th. (15-7) here in the 9th. The pitch yanked foul, as that will scatter the Team Israel dugout. Play cool. We're good. Good. Everybody's good. Showing some guts, not even moving in the dugout to pretend like you need a cup of water or something. Just standing your ground. Oh, 1-2 to Gao. Swings and pops this one up. Shallow right field. Back is Krieger to make the play for out number 2, and Chinese Taipei down to their last out. Pinch hitter is Chi Hung Siu as he steps to the plate here with 2 on and 2 out. 9th batter of the inning for Chinese Taipei. Yeah, the enthusiasm has not dipped in the least bit as Kramer misses upstairs.
All these coordinated cheers, and there will be more of those in many different forms tonight. Korea taking on the Kingdom of the Netherlands.
Chi Hung Shea, a 24-year-old who won the Rookie of the Year award in 2015 in the CPBL. Hit .319 with 13 home runs and 56 RBIs along the way. A chance here to perhaps keep things moving for Chinese Taipei, down by 8. Swings and fouls it off. Scored their runs in bunches, 3 in the 6th and 4 here in the 9th. He fouls that one away to stay alive at 2 balls and 2 strikes. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. 2 on, 15-7 the score. And tap foul to again stay alive. Again, Jerry Weinstein got a good start from his starting pitcher, Corey Baker. 4 2/3, 3 hits. Given the format and the limitations deep into this ball game, probably didn't think he'd need to use 7 pitchers to get through it after having a 6-0 lead going into the bottom of the 6th inning. But such is the case. They do have a day off to rest in between now and when they're back at it against the Kingdom of the Netherlands on Thursday afternoon. This will be the 8th pitch of the at-bat to Shi-Hung Chi. Swing and a miss, strike 3. And Team Israel has come to Seoul, South Korea in their first World Baseball Classic and beaten Korea and Chinese Taipei to improve to 2-0.
And Paul, this game seemingly was longer than the turnaround that Israel had in between games of beating Korea in dramatic fashion last night. That very quick turnaround. A lot of people thought they would be tired, but I think that played into it. They were very simplified in their approach, and it showed right from the very first inning, just jumping on Chinese Taipei's 2 best pitchers and really building a lead that they carried throughout the entire game and increased it. And on the larger, more general scale of it for Israel, they are absolutely sitting pretty with an off day tomorrow.
A 15-7 victory. They certainly had the bats going, pounding out 20 hits along the way to their 2nd victory here in pool play. Let's take an updated look at what Pool A looks like now that we are a couple of games into this one for Team Israel. The Kingdom of the Netherlands, still haven't seen them. We'll see them in a few hours here in Seoul as they get the host country, Korea. That's coming up 6:30 local time here in Seoul. We thank you so much for watching us here in Seoul, South Korea. It's been fun so far, and it's just about to begin even more as South Korea will look to bounce back from a defeat last night at the hands of Israel. They've got a big task ahead of them as the Kingdom of the Netherlands stacked with big league star power. That game coming up in just a little bit. Again, for Joe McGrain and our entire crew, I'm Paul Severino saying thanks so much for joining us here in Seoul. A win for Israel, 15-7, the final.